All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Vamp, and we have a very special guest today. We have Big Jonas in the house. Everybody, welcome the man, the myth, and the legend. He is here. You guys, if you aren't following him, you should definitely go out there and give him a follow on Twitter. I love the man's videos. He posts up these little quick snippets. You know, I just like to say they're just a tad bit shorter than the videos that I usually post. So, so I always love to take a look at his videos. You know, they're always great because they're so informative for being, you know, like under a minute, 2 minutes long. I just love how he does it. They're very organic, so he's just giving you the real deal truth. He's laying it out there, what he sees on his charts. So all of us appreciate that in the community, especially in the crypto community, as it's a very extremely challenging trading environment that we all have going on right now as we've traded the last 6 months of this bear market.
Mhm.
So let's have Jonas say hello to everybody.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks, Vamp. Happy to be a part of your videos here. You know, I like watching your feed, your content. I'm a big fan of your work. You're like a sniper tactician when you choose your buys and sells, and you got balls of steel sometimes in some of your trade setups. So I'm happy to be here, and let's do this. Let's talk some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I want you guys to know I am sending him 7 ES just for saying those nice things about me as soon as the show's over. Yeah, he gets paid in EOS, okay? So let's just kind of take off and look at where we're at right now. So the most important thing I want to just point out really quick here is what I've been saying all along, that that Litecoin has been leading the pack. Litecoin is the coin that has been dragging us along over and over and over. And, you know, you can see I actually made some targets. I called some targets out. I had a little drop. We did hit the drop, and then we went up. Now, I did expect us to go a little bit higher. I actually put my circle up here. We did fall out hard. Now, all of the members in our VIP members section, because of the amazingness of the bubble chart right here, where the pink line is, the bubble chart said, hey, all of you crypto morons, pull a damn short as a hedge. And we did. And hey, we made some good money so far on this short. Now, you have to remember we are scalping in this environment only. So we all pulled short scalps or we're supposed to. And the reason is because when I look at this chart right here, we have a bullish cross about to happen. Now, I have given this a significant name. This is actually, we're calling this a super cross. When we get MAs, you get this dual crossing on an MA in such a short time frame. I'm naming it a super cross, and we do have a super cross occurring on the 6 hour on the Litecoin chart right here. And this just closed out. So we have the first cross in motion. We have the 30 crossing over the 50. Now, it's important to remember that if this were the 7 would have crossed over both. But these three moving averages move substantially slower than the 7. Now, that being said, they are also substantially more powerful than the 7. So, as in our trading group, what we've told everybody is, hey, hold on. We're scalping this short, but with this cross right here, we expect to get a kickback up, right? We were looking at this and we had just some really good trade setups here. You know, we had a great trade setup for a short. This came up and this hit right into I called this, was it 2 days ago? I called $94. I called it actually come up here and tag this MA. It went up there, tagged it perfect. We dropped back down. Now, I wish I would have been shorting Litecoin from this point right here. I would have made a absolute murdering. I would have just killed it going up and killed it coming down. Unfortunately, I didn't. Okay, I did pull a short though on EOS, so I have been riding an EOS short down. I did ride my long trade for my Bitcoin all the way up. I did exit it. I had just a little bit of it left, and then I got stopped out of the trade. I just let it take me. I said, just take me, Jesus, and it took me out. I had a really tight stop loss on Bitcoin. And I said, just take me out, and I'm just going to sit here and wait for this golden cross to occur on Litecoin. Jonas, do you have any comments on Litecoin for us? What are your thoughts on how I look at Litecoin kind of leading the pack?
Um, Where to begin? So, just a quick, brief history of my experience with Litecoin. My first purchase of Litecoin was back around when it was $30, and I remember
Okay,
riding
okay,
it.
okay, time out. I officially
Yeah,
hate you. Okay, continue.
it's a funny story actually how I actually got into it, but that's a whole. So I'll save that one for another show. But so I remember that price point, and I remember when it went from like 30 to 90 in a blink of an eye, and then literally gave it all back, like a 99% pullback, and back to the 30s quickly. And then from there, chugged up back into the mid 70s. So because we were in this mid 70s area, 74 to 80. For so long, it was funny because it was like I remember exactly when I did my second larger purchase of Litecoin originally, like right at $74. So the fact that we were in that area for so long was such a memorable thing for me. Now, we did put in almost this triple bottom in Litecoin over the past several weeks here, where we let me just get a little more accurate here in my chart here, but we basically touched the low 72.
I'm
Pull up
showing it on
this
my
one.
chart.
There. Oh, good.
Everybody
Oh,
can see
great.
it on my
Okay,
chart.
thank you.
Yep.
And then we had a little bounce, and then we kind of basically came all the way back, and I think we went a penny or so lower, so we put in a slightly lower low, but it was just a hair. And then the past, from basically July 10th, to the 15th, we were just stuck in this 74 to 77 range there, got really tight, and then that basic, almost symmetric triangle, if you will, kind of broke bullish, and that's what led to this. Now, you're talking about how Litecoin has kind of been leading the way, and you're absolutely right. I totally agree with that. I've been noticing, though, this continued bearish divergence in relation to Bitcoin. So Litecoin's decline today was around 9% from its nut top around $94, where Bitcoin's only off about 5% from its nut top. So it seems to be a much greater sell-off on Litecoin. I really feel that has to do with its price point, based on the accessibility of it currently on Coinbase, and just how that might affect where it's a quicker buy, it has a quicker pop, but also has a much quicker bleed when it sells off.
Yeah. So today, when I had the members on, we were actually going live, and we were doing a lot of live trading last night and today. So, and one of the things I was calling out is I was calling out as Litecoin was dumping. We had actually, you could see Litecoin dumping, and we were all timing it perfect as
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin was slowly following it down. And this is why, so this is why we weren't shorting Bitcoin, because we actually we look at the strengths and weaknesses of each coin. And
Mm-hmm.
right now you've got EOS, and we find that there's much more movement in EOS and Litecoin. So if you're shorting those seem to be a better opportunity to make higher nets, higher profits on than we find shorting Bitcoin. So once again, so let's take a look. So I want to point out a couple really just blatant in the face kind of charts here for us on Bitcoin. So when I made my original Bitcoin chart, let's bring it up, and I'm gonna have to go find that sucker. Sorry, my office has just got set up, literally not even a half hour ago, and everything is over here and set up. So let's take a look at what we've got here. So we came up. And in my original charts, I said, hey, we have a lot of resistance up in this area. One of those is the 128 day, which I'm going to bring up, and there it is. Let's bring that baby up here. So on the daily, so on the 3-day, look, you can see we came up here, just gave it a pokey poke of the 30 MA, and then just got beaten down like a redheaded stepchild, okay? I'd also like to point out that we have consistently, and this is something we're going to talk about in a different show, is kind of the theory behind how the trends change for the month on the 12. We get these crazy changes, these crazy swings on about or close to the 12th of every month. And you see here we were right in the range. This thing took off. Now, so the 3-day shows that we had a lot of support up at this area. And if you guys follow me, you guys know that I do a lot of historical supports and resistances. And, all in this zone right here, all this stuff is just, this is where I was looking. You can clearly see on these charts You had a lot of support and resistance. This is why I placed my target up here. We also had all these MAs. You can see your MAs are coming down, and they all came down. Here's the 1 day. There it is. There's the now. There's the 126. So your 100 day came down, offered resistance. Your 128 day is really the hurdle for us. But it was easy to find where there's your 200 day. You can just go through every timeline pretty much on the higher time frames and say, hey, this was the top, right? One of the other things I like to do is I like to use my 12-hour chart as my more accurate chart. So here we are on our on the 12-hour chart. You see we came up. This was a perfected 9, as I usually call it. It did bleed on us, right? So we did get the bleeding. All right, so let's hear from Jonas about his thoughts on these higher time frames and some of the candle setups he's got. What chart you want to take a look at first, buddy?
Were you just on the 4-hour there, or this is 12-hour?
Yep, I can bring the 4-hour up. That was the 12-hour. Here's the 4-hour. There you go.
You're ready. I like using the 4, and this is
very accurate chart too. Good chart. I like using the 4-hour and the 12-hour. So go for it.
Well, I mean, the first thing that I'm concerned about is these wicks here that we see. The 94 rejection area clearly corresponds, with our June kind of last.
Litecoin, right?
I'm sorry. Are you on Litecoin?
I was on Bitcoin. I was on Bitcoin.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me switch on Bitcoin there. I couldn't see. I can't see your the side there.
It's okay.
There we go. Oh, let me pull up. Actually, I can see it on the YouTube there.
He's basically got a pile of money in front of him. He's got to scoot out from all of his trade winnings. Give him a moment, please.
All right. So, what we're trying to really do now is determine if this kind of retrace. I mean, this is such a bullish move here. So we're trying to figure out, what kind of a retracement we're going to have. Now, I have my kind of center line of support still around 7250 area here as kind of our best case bullish bounce area where we find continuation, and we're in theory calling this big shooting up kind of your wave 3 of an eventual 5th wave, full run there. So if we are kind of in our larger wave 4 pullback with a bullish sense to this continuation here, then I kind of want to see where we're kind of holding now as a continuation forward. I don't think it will. Because of, I mean, the RSI. I really like to use the RSI in the 4-hour there to kind of get a broader sense, and it's broken my channel.
I have the RSI. Let me bring this up.
Yeah, if you could bring that up, because this has been such a great story, at least over the past couple of days here, where we've gone from this kind of choppy price move into a much more organic. What chart? The 4-hour is fine.
Got it.
And on the RSI there, we clearly have this very tight rising pattern here. And now this last move of Bitcoin is breaking our really tight support there. And that line, I basically had a line drawn from, right there, and come a little higher up. So I feel that perfect right there. So I feel that we're almost breaking that support now in our RSI, and that's kind of what the price is basically reflecting. So in that, I feel that this wave, this is over. I feel that this kind of takes quite a while. I feel just because of the veracity of this move here to kind of settle in. I'm seeing that reflected also in the lack of follow through in a bunch of the alts. There was kind of a meme that, okay, now Bitcoin has run and now the money will eventually start to flow into alts. And in some cases that clearly did happen, but not all. And now I'm feeling there still is that kind of, Twitter's mood goes from bearish to bullish in the matter of a few $100s, it seems, in the price of Bitcoin here. So now that we're seeing these clear rejections, especially 3 candles ago, that was a really nasty wick there that we put on the 4-hour, kind of had a hanging man on the last previous candle there. And now we're kind of in this indecision here. I'm leaning towards a much more of a stronger pullback. And let's face it here, our neckline was at 68 and change. And that was such a strong resistance line that everybody was talking about. Can we confirm our inverse head and shoulders with a break of 68 and change? And we blew through it like it was nothing. So, that's kind of our super firm bottom on a retracement. it's hard to say if we're going to come that far back, but we could, because of, if you go back a little bit to our end of June move, we gave a lot of that back. We bottomed at around 57, we topped off around 67, and we barely held our heads above 6,000 on our retracement there. So that was a decent, what was that? That was 61.8 or 60. Yeah, that was a full clean, right. Yeah, a little under 61 point retrenchment. So our retracement. So that was very clean, and that was a decent pullback. So if we're going to do something similar, that clearly puts us breaking 7,000 by a couple $100 possibly before looking for our next potential wave higher.
Excellent. Good, good, good.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And if you do look on my other charts, I like to point out the different support levels. I actually had my support level also placed right here. It would be this yellow line right here. So let's stretch that out. So I felt we had a lot of support right there at that line. That was the 6,800 line. So we've got 68, 6,700. I do feel this is a very heavy support area, basically based on all of the confluence that we have. So you have all of this coming down, all of this area right here. So you've got a lot of heavy support and resistance in this, and dropping below this, and I still feel that. Litecoin is, since Litecoin is the leader, and we're looking at this chart right here. Excuse me. I see when we come over here, and let me bring this up, and we see our 6-hour chart. This is where I see the getting a little bounce up right here. I see right about now, we're looking at to get a little bounce out of this is what I'm expecting because of this bullish cross right here. I said we came down. We found perfect support. If you were watching my charts, I called this support out absolutely perfect. We came down, hit it, so I called the first support, and then it snapped through the second one. It went right to the last one. So that's a very good thing, is we've come down, we found some support right here. Let's see if we can hold it. If we can't hold it, I still am expecting a bounce from this MA crossover. Simply, you have to understand these crossovers do have a delay on them. They do have a delay. If you go back over, and unfortunately, I just set up all my damn charts again, so it's killing me. Let me see if I can find my other.
Well, if I can say one thing there, I totally agree with that support level. I mean, 84 and change is really where you want to hold there, because that was clearly that kind of pause moment in Litecoin yesterday when Bitcoin paused. And then when it had its second run there, so to continue this sense of bullish continuation, 84, really want to find a good support level here, even if you have to hug it for several candles to kind of confirm that.
Yeah, and for the Elliott guys out there, which I am definitely not one of, you can pull a B, C out of this. Right, and if you pulled you look at something along the lines of A, B, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right, you could pull an A, and if you really probably got into this thing right here, you could probably, which I am not an Elliott guy, I like to make everybody that abundantly clear. I'm sure you could pull a 5 wave out of this. I do not like using Elliott. We've talked about this. I'm just not that good of an Elliott guy. At this point, though, right here, I have to say, looking at Litecoin, once again, I am waiting for this cross to kick in to get a little bullish scalp out of this, and I'd like to see what the bullish scalp is. Now, one of the important factors that we like to bring into play is that when we look over at our daily chart, it is very important that when you're playing your daily chart on Bitcoin, let me pull it up. And of course, I don't have the RSI up here. Let's bring it up here. There we go. So of course, when you're playing your daily chart on Bitcoin, it is so important to understand where you're at in the trend, right? So here in the trend of Bitcoin, we are clearly up and over the 50% range, right? Which makes us extremely bullish for the month of July, right? Traditionally, July is a down month. So, I mean, we did have, a little bit of, I mean, this has been, not really a down month. I wouldn't call July a down month. I would actually call July an up month this year. So far, we are looking at highs here in July. You'd have to go back to 14, I think it's 14, late 15, to where you had the August dumps. Now, the difference between now and then is we have the ETFs that are setting us up. I think a lot of people are bearish for the ETFs. I think a lot of people are setting themselves up right now, hoping that if they can get in at a decent price around here, and once the ETF does hit, if it does get approved, they'll get a nice rocket out of this. They can just buy in right here. You don't have long to wait.
Do you think the market is setting up for a buy the rumor, sell the news situation on this and trying to use it to pump us until August 9th?
Well, two things. This is a different kind of news. This is a definitely buy the good news,
Right, right, right.
sell the bad news. So
Yeah,
usually the news, when the news comes out, everyone sells, right?
right,
Because
right.
you're buying the hype going into the news, and then whatever happens. And usually what happens is uh, a fundamental discovery to a coin, right? So, or a token. So what you have is you have some actual fundamental element that occurred to an actual token, which is pretty freaking irrelevant.
Mm.
It's not like, woohoo, TRX, went to their mainframe. Okay, and right,
Well,
Verge
the one that comes to
got on
mind
a
is
porn
Verge,
site.
exactly, is Verge. And
Yeah,
that was such a it was a pump, it was a dump, it was a last pump, and then we've seen what's happened with that since.
and
Verge to pay for free porn. Who knew?
yeah, exactly. Now I have to say, I
Mm,
big props to Verge,
yeah.
right, to become a usable product, and you know what? That's what we need. We need more products becoming, more tokens becoming, having having an actual use based function. And hats off to those guys. Porn or no porn, right? Good job.
Proof of concept will be kind of that factor that determines winners and losers, I think, moving forward. Unless you can create something tangible, then eventually, your market will dry up and you'll get delisted eventually.
Yes, and I think we've seen like 800 coins actually go to zero. They had an article not long ago. It's 800 to 1,000
Mm.
coins had actually gone to zero. Something to keep an eye out on. But once again, we've got 1,800, 1,900 coins and growing. I think it might be over 2K now, not
Well, it's
counting
funny
ICOs.
on Coin Market Cap. I constantly monitor at the very top of the screen there where it says everything, and they currently have 1,649 cryptocurrencies they're tracking, and this is up about 30 or 40 coins in the past month. So yes, they do fall off, but we can continue to grow and add more tokens in the market. Kind of feel that further dilutes the overall market potentially too.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. All right, let's get back on topic here with our daily close. So
Hmm.
I want to do just a couple things. I want to come down here. Let's take a look at the daily here. So we have been calling out this daily cross, this daily bullish cross, right? It did occur. So we do have a confirmation on this bullish cross. We do look like, we're going to have to see where this ends up right here. But this does look like a rising wedge if you were to really zoom in and take a look at this. So I do see some bullish signs here on Bitcoin and on Litecoin. So you've got the 6 hour closed on Litecoin with the cross. You do have the daily cross occurred on Bitcoin. Now, let me kind of explain something to you what happens here, right? And the easiest way to frame this out is when you spread your moving averages out like this, and this is what's happening to them, they're all getting spread out. This works bullish and or bearish. They are then easier to tackle one at a time, right by the price line, moving up or moving down, using them as support and resistance,
Mm.
right? So right now we have a final separation on these higher time frames. They're all now kind of they're all kind of separated out, right? Nothing. Now, this 100 day is a real slow mover. This 30 is a little higher. And if this were to kick over, you would see the 30 roll, the 50 roll, and the 100 would never even touch them. right? What would happen is the 7 would come back around and pierce the 100 first, then the 30, then the 50. So looking at this, once you start separating all these MAs out, you now inject weakness into the marketplace. So the market now doesn't have the support like here, like piercing multiple lines is very challenging, moving averages. So then you compile on strict and super heavy support and resistance historicals. That makes it even more of a pressure point. Then you add on all of your RSI, where the RSI is at. I looking at right now, I am expecting one small little pump here, or a pump of some sort. And after that, I'm telling you, we have a lot. This zone right, let me just block this out right here. This zone right here is like super heavy. So let's let Jonas chat about that for a second. What he thinks about that 76 to 7,800 zone.
Well, I mean, earlier I mentioned kind of the topic that everybody was talking about. You know, are we putting in an inverse head and shoulders? And if we were, where are we looking for our head neckline? And then how are we going to do kind of a determination as to where they'll take us? And if we basically choose our head bottom to our neckline was roughly $1,000. Which brings us to about 6,800, and you add $1,000 to that. That also puts us right at around $7,800. So it does correspond with the inverse head and shoulders completely playing out bullishly, and that basically falls right into your heavy resistance zone.
So just to give you guys an idea, here's what he's talking about. He's basically saying the head and shoulders brings you right up into this zone right here, right? So here's the top. You came down, you created your head and shoulders, and then here's the inverse reaction to the head and shoulders that correlates with where this yellow line is over here, and just like that. So, right?
Yep.
And let me get another. Somehow I know I can put arrows on both sides of this thingy. Let me figure it out. I did it before. No? No. All right, never mind. I tried. So here is what he's talking about is you take the height down here, and this is right there, correct?
It was the neckline, so around 68.
Yeah. So I did that,
Yeah.
6,800 and up, right to the top. So this basically took us, and I can inch this up right there.
Yep.
68 and change right there. So this is what we're looking at for the shoot for the. Now, how does the Wyckoff work on that? Have you used Wyckoff?
I mean, so the people on Twitter I see using it and trying to overlay it on, you know, where we are in the charts. Like, yeah, like it does fit as this is kind of your, was it the accumulation zone? And then it kind of shoots up. I don't know. I kind of see it and don't really want to, I don't really use the Wyckoff too much in my everyday charting. It's more kind of an overall perspective thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So when I look at this particular pattern here, you know, I keep running into, I keep running into this right here. Let me bring this up. This is my biggest, no, wrong one. And there we go. So when I look at these turnaround dates, I go back to how I plotted out all of these. The greens are the 6s, and then this is the 6th of the month, and then you have the 9th to the 12th. Have you had a chance to take a look at this chart, John?
Well, I watched your broadcast last night, so yes, I am familiar with this.
Okay, and what are your thoughts on these turnaround, the dynamics of how this kind of plays out with the 12th being the large swings, or the 12th being the real turnaround and not the 6th?
I mean, overall, I just see it as a continuation pattern that seems to get smaller and smaller, like a ball bouncing, and then every time it bounces, it loses a little more momentum. This last hump we had here should have been more of a hump, but it kind of went lower, I feel, than it probably was expected to. I was almost expecting a third hump, and then a break of our support. And we ended up breaking our support of around 63, 60, well, actually 58 to 6,000. So we went lower than I thought we were going to. Now I feel we're almost like compensating for that by this very sharp turn up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if that extra dip low, a combination of FUD relation, Gawk selling off, this and that, just the overall stock market. Maybe people weren't as enthused to put more money to work in crypto. But now, we're seeing an overall stock market, looking like it's still moving forward. That clearly adds a lot of bullish sentiment in just traders in general. And that could be corresponding to our move here as well.
Yeah. No, I agree. I still think that we have so many people just sitting on the sidelines. People don't believe it. That's what I feel right now. I feel that people just don't believe the hype, right? They're not believing the pump. People I feel are just, they're skeptical. We get up here, we make this, it kind of pauses, and people are, all right, I'm going to take my profits, I'm going to go back on the sideline. You clearly see that directly with the market cap where we're at today. I think we're up at 300. Are we over 300 million today? 300 billion?
So we bottomed like a couple weeks ago around 240 something, and now we're at 288. That's what I'm seeing here on CoinMarketCap.
Still pretty low. Still really low.
Yeah, and it's funny. It was a video I did a couple days ago. We did under 3 billion in overall volume on Bitcoin a couple days back. It was on the 14th of July. And I'm reminded of our April 10th, April 6th, April 11th, whatever it was, short squeeze big rally, that a couple days preceding that, we also had an extremely low volume day, potentially signaling that the selling had dried up, and kind of this circumstance repeated itself again on much lower volume. But in the 24 hours, we have broken 6 billion. And we have not been up over 6 billion since back in early June or even May. So definitely money flow has come back in, and market cap of 126 billion on Bitcoin. It was able to hold 100 billion just barely back in the end of June there. So clearly money flow has come in, and we have $4 billion more than we had in market volume than we did a few days ago. So that's very encouraging. But you're right. There is this, I don't trust this move, or I don't care, I'm going to take profits where I can find them. And a lot of people, especially in their alts, their bags had a little reprieve over the past couple days. So maybe they were kind of scaling out some of their losses, or actually able to make some gains, or just riding the Coinbase pumps for a few days there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now I definitely expected to get back up here. I just expected us to go down to 57, 5,400. So that's where I kind of had my bottom. I was looking for something more like this, and come down right here, and then go up to 7,200, and then come down again. So I had us going a little bit lower. I had my bottom here. My bottom, boys and girls, is still unchanged. I am still calling for $4,800 to $4,200. I still feel this is where our bottom is before we'll get a really strong reaction. That's what I'm looking for.
Do you think we've had so much history in the 6,000s, and we've had very little recent history in the 5,000. Back in February, we were in the 5,000s for like a minute and a half when we had our V bottom, and now we were only there in the hundreds, 50, 70, 59 for a few times or so. My question really is, if we do break 6,000 again, which is kind of that, if we get back into the fives, like, does that once again signal that imminent test of 5,000 is inevitable, because that 6,000 hold was so strong for this continuation? Another failure of that would kind of signal that doom scenario.
You know, the way I look at it is I look at this as we came down and tested low. So this, you know, I feel that this was a lot of part of this was still the Mount Gox sell off right here. I mean, this is when they were dumping coins like crazy, right? We then got a little bit more of that action up here.
Mm.
When we came down here, I do feel that the market kind of stabilized down here. Now, I still feel that this reaction up here was actually really easy to call. I called this one using, I actually called this one using Fibonacci. With the Fibonacci lines, I was able to call this top pretty well, along with the support, the historical support and resistance areas. So I called this one. Now, coming down here, we once again, so if you look at this, you have this area right here that we called as the top, right? If you throw Fibonacci on this, I believe this is the 618, and I believe if you come down here, this is like the 50 or something like that. But when you put Fibonacci, apply Fibonacci to these charts, you will see that we are, let me see if I have it. There you go. There you go. Let's get rid of this. So you can see how Fibonacci has clearly played out. So here you go. Here's our 0.50, and we just, boom, came up and tagged it. Here's our 618, right? Take a look at that. We've come right up and tagged it, right? Yes, kind of eerie, you know,
Mm.
kind
Mm-hmm.
of, kind of right on. You know, if you go back to your 382, is this did come up and tag this right here. Now, we didn't find anything in this zone right here. What I did find in this zone, and let me see if I do have it on this chart. I don't, and it is right. Let me grab this. So let's pull this one up. Here we go. Here's our bad boy. All right, so here's our Bitcoin chart. I want to just pull this up right here. Oh, let's blind that out. So here's my Bitcoin chart, and I'm going to bring up the daily. And when you bring up the daily, you see that the 128, and I've talked about this over and over and over again, right? How this line just kind of has played the Fibonacci zones also. So this line came down and tacked perfectly on the Fib zone right here. So this was the, let's bring this over. Okay, so let's see if I can squeeze this baby in here. There we go. All right. Oh, come on, behave. Oh, there we are. Sorry, multiple monitor issues. Right. So if you take a look at this, we can actually see how the Fibonacci, this 128-day tapped here, tapped right there's perfect, right? And this was, so the 128 came down, and then we came down again, and then we came right up, and now the 128 day is right here, and we're just about to kiss it. And, you know, once again, you've had this crazy correlation between your fib lines and your 128-day moving average. Just very, very historically eerie that that's occurring. Now, I have told everyone breaking, substantially breaking this 128 for me makes me a bull. I actually go bullish, right? I will turn into a bull breaking this line with more than 2 to 3 days of a close above it, right? I would definitely break bull. Now, as you guys know, if you follow my charts and my chats, the issue I have then is our weekly chart. So here's our weekly chart. Now,
This is my favorite chart too.
I love this chart. So
I love the weekly.
on the weekly chart, we come down here on the weekly, we had a imperfected 9. Now this is not good. This is not a bullish 9 on our TD. What we had is we had this just beautiful candle, right? Here you go, same thing. You had the
Mm-hmm.
beautiful candle out of April. And I am counting down this death cross right here that's above us. If we do not get above this 86, let's just call it 8600 line within the next 2 weeks, it will be the most detrimental thing to crypto in a long time. I will be pulling a high leverage short once we get this death cross up here. Any thoughts on the 3-day, on the weekly?
Yeah, well, I mean, in terms of that price level of 86, you said 8,600. I mean, that's like my super duper would be amazing nut top on this bullish move to get there. And I say that because that would coincide with still a declining, higher lows, sorry, lower highs from every continued bounce we have from our parabolic move. So, our high of 11.7 became a high of 9,999, became a high of 7,800, and now we're either going to double top at 7,800 or break bullish. And our best case bullish break, I agree with you, basically is between, I mean, I see it really like 80,
80,
83,
yep,
84.
8,400. Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
like
yep.
right there. And that kind of corresponds with a little tweet at the top we had back in the end of May. That was kind of a little failed rally there that kind of brought this continuation lower there. Do you use the Bollingers ever on
I do not.
your
I do
chart?
not. There's two things I admittedly suck at, and that would be Bollinger and Ichi.
Okay.
I get on there and I stumble through both of them. I know what a
Well, the
bullish
only
cross
reason
is.
Yeah, well, the only reason I wanted to bring it up is because it's been pretty accurate in terms of really strong support and resistance. And I'll use an example. Litecoin found very strong support on the middle BB on the weekly, right at $72, $73 there, and has bounced very nicely. Bitcoin's Bollinger middle line currently is right at about $7,800 there. So if it can get up to it, which will be down a couple bucks in a few days from now, maybe 77.50 or so, I think that's going to be extremely hard resistance. So I agree that there probably is one more pop left in Bitcoin when it can kind of find a bottom. I don't know if that's 72.50 or if that's 68.50, and then try and get one more leg. But I still feel that 78 is rock solid, and a break of that middle BB on the weekly would be very impressive to me to see that, because that middle BB has held the price under since early March. So that would clearly be a game-changing move if Bitcoin could break the middle BB, and that really is at $7,800. So we're still seeing that major confluence zone of 7,800, keep popping up in that area. And of course, a big break of that, then we can definitely talk about 8,000 and 83, 8,400. And that, I agree, is even a firmer King Kong, what do you call it, kryptonite zone in the past.
Kryptonite zone.
Heavy
Yep,
resistance zone.
kryptonite,
So,
kryptonite zone.
yeah. So yeah, I concur with that. I just want to bring up one more point, if I could, about the whole weekly chart. If you could zoom out a little bit.
Yep.
And really, it's just the parabolic move itself. I mean, I know Bitcoin in the past has had parabolic moves, the one that went from $10 to $90, and then basically from $100 to $1,000. And, each time it did retrace, 80%, 90%. People that argue, oh, this time everything's changed, the fundamentals, the use case, the eyeballs, the money flow. I'm a chart guy, so I feel that all those things, yes, they do factor, and they do factor in terms of market sentiment. But I feel the overall unwind of this parabolic move still has a very long time to play out. It's almost shown more exclusive, more kind of impactfully, I could say, if you do log scale, where it looks just insane how big of a move that parabolic move from 1,000 to 20,000 in such a short relative time actually was. And it kind of shows you how mega insane that move was, and how from a retracement standpoint, how it almost feels like we've only come back just a little piece of that overall pie. Now, I'm not saying that, I don't know where the overall bottom is. It could be 1,200, it could be 3,300, it could be 4,700. But I feel other areas eventually are just logically yet to be tested, just clearly based on what I've seen other parabolic moves do and how they have unwound in other stocks I've followed throughout the years. That's why overall, I still feel this correction still has some time to play out. But I feel it could also be a lot shorter than our 2004 correction, based mainly on some of those items I did mention, you know, money flow, infrastructure, stuff along those lines. CNBC helping out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So if you take a look, and this is a good, a really good indicator, using the TD chart, just counting how many times we actually reached a green 9. So if you go all the way down here to the bottom, you can actually count them out here. It'd be 1, 2, 3, almost made it to a 9 here, and then 4. So you had 4 complete. Now these are weeks. This is actually 5 weeks right here. This is an insane amount of weeks right here. This is years, and you can see how many times we actually reached a green 9 over and over and over again on this chart. And this would be our very first red 9 that we have pulled in the downtrend, in the bear market. You know, and looking at this red 9, I just don't feel that this is it. Right? If you
Right.
look at the green 9 right here, what I like to see is I like to see the green 9 and then it bleeds. Let it bleed out, and then I know, okay, all right, now that's the end to end, right? That's when I can tell we're at the end to end. When I see a nice green 9 or a red 9 bleed out, I'm like, okay, I never trust the 9s fully. And I feel it the same thing here, right? So I feel that we are looking at an imperfected 9, and we're still looking at a continuation down. If you do look at your weekly MAs, you've got the 100 down here at 47.49, moving up. I believe it moves up at about 60 points a day. And you do look at the, you've got, actually that one's irrelevant. You've got the 200 day down here where nobody wants to go. Okay? So looking at just the weekly MAs, you do for this, there's nothing in here. And this is something I tell people all the time. There's nothing in here holding us up, right? The 7 MA is the only thing holding us up. If we were to fall out in the 7 MA, I tell you, it's like water. That's why I make mine blue, right? It passes through the water all the time. It's easy to pass through the 7. The next time we fall, this is why I've called this. I've said 40, give me 48 to 42 to 4800, and then we'll talk about a possible bottom. And then we'll see what kind of reaction we get. But until we get down here and test this, we didn't land on anything here, people. There's nothing here, right? Come down here. This was good. This was good. This showed me there was support. This was legit, and we got a legit bounce off of the 50, right? And then we had resistance on the 30, right? And we got a squeeze. So we basically had a squeeze happen here, and it just kind of fell out again. But you cannot call this a bottom until we've touched something, and we haven't touched anything. You know, there's no MA line that we've touched down here on a substantially higher time frame. Now, if you go up to the monthly, which I do have, right? There you go. And this is why I call 42 as my low, because here is your monthly chart. This is your MA and your monthly, your 30. It is slowly moving up month by month. So if we fall out, it doesn't have, you know, next month, this could be all the way up to 4,000 and then, or 4,100. This is why the range I'm looking at is down here, 4,800 to 4,200, simply based on the monthly and the weekly moving averages, where I would like to find support. Right?
Can you go back to the weekly for just a second?
Yep, done.
So I agree with all that, and I see that along with what's keeping us up in this, you know, let's just call it 5,800 and above area, you know, our little confluence of candles last November, you know, this little wiggle of price stability, if you could, will basically from from Halloween, basically heading into Thanksgiving, Bitcoin kind of paused and flirted with, you know, 6,000 to 7,000. So that price history is what held us up in the beginning of February when we had our V bottom, and kind of what we just had recently. So you're absolutely right. A break of 57.50, which I think was basically our nut low a couple weeks ago, puts that next cluster of price history back into play. And that basically is 4,700 all the way down to, let's just say 4,200, a really tight area, potentially as low as 3,700 area there. There was a nice, chop of price history. So you're right. There's nothing between, 5,700, the psychological 5,000 floor, and then a couple $100 or so down from there. So a quick failure, you could argue, of 6,000 to 58 to 6,000 could bring a precipitous quick drop down to the low 5,000s, and then all bets are off in terms of how the market could react to that. And also it depends on how we get there. A slow bleed will react to a bottom differently than a quick, capitulation dump.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. Yep. And so just to summarize kind of where we're at right now, we both feel that 78 is all the resistance, and we show that on the daily, and we show it on the weekly charts. So I show that with my guideline has always been the 128 day. I've always said go break over this for 3 days, and I go bullish. So just to let everybody know, I still feel we're going to come up here. We could possibly give this another poke, but looking at this, I need to see us break over $7,800 to make me go bullish on here. So let's do this. Let's take a couple questions from everybody,
Sure.
and a couple of people out there. Oh my God, I got to go back through. Holy cow, there's a lot of questions back here, and let's see what we got.
Thanks everybody for joining us this evening. This is also fun to be interacting with. Great.
Yeah. Timmy, you're funny. Jesus, just take me, Jesus. Are we bullish, Derek? Derek is asking, are we bullish?
So, all right. Well, what's the standard answer? Long term, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. So yes, I'm very bullish on Bitcoin long term. Short term, and again, that's a very good question, because you have to ask yourself, what kind of a trader am I? Am I a day trader? Am I a quick scalper? Am I a swing trader? Or am I just trying to find where can I enter my best long positions? So we've definitely clearly have made a bullish move. You can't discount that. We are, I feel, in clearly some sort of a small consolidation from that move. And as Vamp pointed out, breaking specific key resistance areas will increase, at least my bullishness. But I'm very hesitant. I don't know if it's just this bear market that's made me a little more conservative, a little more reserved in some of my outlooks. But obviously, the more indicators you get that lean you towards a bullish direction, the more hopeful you can be. I still want to see a lot more volume, money flow flowing in, and the continuation of additional alts kind of liquidating and spreading out the money is always going to be a concern. I think you've talked before as well about maybe you just kind of need that major capitulation move to get a lot of these S coins off the exchanges and try and help concentrate more of the crypto money in some of the winners that will basically be, picked as time moves on.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. And so my answer for am I bearish or am I bullish is I don't care. I am both. People always say I'm a bear. That's not true. I look at this yellow line is what makes me what I am today. So below this yellow line, I'm a bear. Above this yellow line, I'm a bull, and it's that simple. I'm not in this market to make friends. I'm in this market to make money. And, we've all got bills to pay, families to feed, and, we all got nice Lambos we want to eventually buy, whether it's a 1987, Nissan Sentra with a nice Lambo wing on the back. I mean, that'll do for some of us. But, we are all in this space for one reason or another. I am in this space to be a winner. I hate losing most of all. So because of that, I have learned that a lot of things. I have learned how to trade safely, and my trading is not based on being a bear or a bull. My trading is based on indicators. So if we go up over this, the indicators tell me to be a bull. I'm a bull. It's that simple. Now, would I like to be bullish? My God, guys, listen. if I had been here since, if I had been in this space back in, October, November, even just call it August of last year, I would probably have 150,000 followers right now, if not more. I would just be wrecking the space for sure. I would probably be one of those legends of the, that I look up to, and the guys who've been in the space forever, like Jonas. These guys have been here for a long time, and just having the foresight is something I look back and one of the few regrets I have in life.
I think that's true, but I also feel that even G's to prove that that at least their opinions and their content is still valid. And I remember at least a lot of people I used to follow kind of went in a different direction in terms of their feed and their content. And I kind of lost a lot of interest in people I thought had all the answers when I realized they're really just trying to show me their bags and had a constant perma bull, which you don't want to. That's why I really like perspective, whether it's TradeView charts or people you follow on Twitter or videos you watch on YouTube. I like to get everybody's perspective because it helps me either reinforce my own biases or helps break them and allow me to see things, or at least see things in a different way that I never considered. And overall, that will make you a much stronger trader.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. So we have another question here. Oh my God, Grace. Grace, you are hilarious. Grace says that Bitcoin is a woman and the 12th is PMS time. You're hilarious, Grace. I'm pretty sure it's from the 6th to the 12th, right? When she decided that with that wild mood swing. Kevo, yes. So you guys can find. Please go out, give Big Jonas a big, a follow out there on his Twitter page. He's also doing a lot of private TA stuff, private tutoring. You can find me at our Discord group, which is in my description, and or until1mil.com. Let's see. Elliot Wave, goodbye. Yeah, DZ says, Elliot Wave, goodbye to your money. Yeah, so let's talk about that for just a second. Elliot Wave is a very challenging strategy, and that I no longer use. I use it as a framework, and that's pretty much how I use Elliot Wave now. So I use it as a framework. That's it. And one of the things that it's funny because one of the things that Jonas just brought up is how a lot of the old legends, how it's kind of like people followed them. One of my jokes I like to tell all the time is how there's probably a grandma out there who has a better trading history from pretty much 3,000 to 15, 16,000 than most of the pros.
Everyone's a winner in the bull market.
Everybody's a winner. That's right. All right. Did you guys ever go over the bearish divergence on the 1 hour? Hamed wants to know if we can take a look at the 1 hour chart. So let's
Sure.
go down and take a look at the 1 hour chart for Ahmed. Here we go, buddy.
If I can say something real quick though about Elliott waves.
Yep, go for it.
I agree. I think using it as a open foundation can be very helpful. I rely on others to do their counts and to kind of see what their thoughts are, and I almost use it kind of as like retrospective. So I get a good sense of what people's counts are. I see how the actual market price action played out, and I get a better understanding of whose count seems to be more in touch with the mood and with the flow of the market. And those are the people that I tend to kind of watch kind of more so. And it's funny how skeptical I am of so many times. Is like, I can't believe that person thinks that the fifth wave ends up here, or that this is a this ABC correction, and then to be surprised when it kind of plays out like that. So I do feel there's merit in the Elliott wave, but you're right, it's a very subjective thing, and I almost feel it works better on a larger time frame than these smaller ones. Even though you can find, have you found your 5 waves and now you feel this is done and now we're kind of retraced, that can be very helpful. But to classify as this is where it will go next, I think Elliott can be used with every other tool that is, available to us traders.
Excellent. Good job. Yeah. So, all right, we came down to the 1 hour. Let's take a look at the 1 hour really quick. So, the 1 hour is now, if you're looking at my chart and you see the signals that say short, long, and short, long, and short, long, this is until 1 mil scalper. So, this is only a scalping tool. You can see that this scalper did call the long here, was a great trade. It did call the short. When I look at this right here, when I do set up my trades on this, I start at trend and then EMAs and then candles and then so on and so forth, all the way down the line, TD. So here we are. We have a very bearish cross on top of the price line that just occurred. So we did get a bear cross on the timeline. We are spread out below us on all of our MAs. So if this does drop, there is on the 1 hour chart, there's not a lot of support down here because it can tear through each one of these 1, 2, 3 at a time, one at a time till it gets to the bottom. When I do look at the candles up here, I do see we had a great shooting star candle on this number 2. We had another great shooting star candle on this number 3. We had a lot of sideways movement here with a lot of bearish candles. So, you got the shooting star, a couple spinning tops. This was very bearish going all into this right here. You do have an engulfing candle right here. This is not really engulfing bullish or bearish. I believe it has to be on the left side. But then we just completely fell out. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right now there's a real tight equilibrium set with about 72.41 as our low, and I mean really like 73.85 as our high there. So if we basically get back into the 72s and change, that'll be our third drop. Yeah, if we break below 72.80, that'll be our third drop below 72.80 in this hourly candle here. I don't think we're going to hold up again if we basically touch there. We did have a nice wick that the bulls were able to buy into when we bought them at 72.36 about 4 or 5 hours ago. But I feel that equilibrium is getting tighter, and just, I'm seeing the volume continue to decline. The RSI's cooled off, which is nice. It was it was at 80, topped off at 88 on the 1 hour, so that's pretty tall. And we are actually finding a little double bottom support right there on the RSI, again, the 1 hour. And this is kind of a confluence area of a little support, like right over the 50. I know that you were talking a lot about how the 50 area, was that on the daily? That was that was a daily chart of Bitcoin. That was such a hard area to break before.
Yeah. So there we go. So yeah, so what he's talking about is you've got this area right here. You've got a lot of wicks. You've got a lot of, if it does break this red triangle, let me change red square. I'm going to make it yellow. There you go. So breaking this again, and you can see we have a bunch of multiple wick touches right down here in this area. And breaking through this, there is no support until 7152, 7150-ish, 7200. This is where the next level of support would be. Now, once again, I'm still looking for a little. So we did get a pop here on the hourly. This did create a rising wedge. It was then pushed back down by the MAs, and we just got to see where this takes us.
Yeah, I kind of see a bear flag on the 1 hour. I mean, it's subtle, but I kind of see.
Yep. Right there.
I'm just kind of seeing it like that now. And I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Either a pennant or a flag or rising wedge. Right? I mean, I can see a bunch of things in here that are possible. Right? Now, if it looks like it's going to break out of the bottom of this, then we'd kick this baby back around, but it's still going to get ugly. So let's go.
And we've seen examples where if this candle here is kind of a similar candle to what we had back when we had our short squeeze in April, after our kind of real rocket ship shoot up there, there was a clear pullback retracement. So this is still healthy chart activity here, from a move like this. The question is, can we get on a couple $100 more from this, or are we kind of find our full retrace and then see if we can bounce from there? I still think 6,800 I mean, yeah, I really still feel like 60. If we can bounce hard off of like 68.50, which was literally where our previous wicks had bounced before and got strongly rejected, and that's where I would find a good place there. But until we fail the sevens, I mean, 7,000, we blew through it pretty quickly. I'd like to see that psychologically hold, just as I wanted to see six hold, and then that broke, and that brought that kind of, oh, here comes the fives, but that actually never happened.
Yep, yep, excellent, good. All right, so ETFs, yeah, guys. So the ETFs, I believe that the date is the 16 on the ETFs, and don't be surprised if it does get postponed.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think the postponement is the most probable. Lack of information, let's talk more about it, blah, blah, blah. It just seems like a more logical thing than a firm decision. And frankly, I don't think the financial industry is ready for it. I don't think the market's ready for it yet.
Yeah.
I think I want to see a little more maturity and get a little more of the trash kind of out of the market before, unless you could argue another way that maybe only the ETF itself would be that kind of driving force that could bring a little more stability to the overall market.
Yeah. All right. So we have a question. Can you please go down to the 12-hour and take a look at the candle setup that we have down here? So we're going to go over here to the 12-hour and the 1 hour. Now, I would have hoped to have a shooting star candle close this out, but instead we had, I'm not really sure what the hell this candle is. It's kind of a quasi, wanted to be a doji, spinning top thing. It did tuck over this shooting star that we had before. This was bleeding from the 9. And then let's go over and take a look at the daily. So the daily did give us a really, really nice shooting star style candle. This is bearish, and I do have this written down. I have this on my chart that this is bearish, and there it is right there.
If I could just point out something real fast, you can still have a bearish candle even if it closes green. So don't let the color fool you. You can have a very bearish candle and it can still close green. You can have a very bearish volume bar and it can still be green. So those are things that as a trader you got to keep in mind. And the shooting star, the green shooting star, also stopped our move to 10,000 back in May. And you could argue another shooting star stopped our tracks back beginning of June with a green shooting star.
All right, let's go take a look at those candles really quick here. So there you go. There's one of them right there. Beautiful candle, excellent reversal candle. And as you see, this now we've got a lot more wick on this. This really isn't as shooting starish as I would like. You've still got the bottom poked out. So here you go. Here's a red 8. This red 8 was very shooting starish. It was a red candle, and then let's go all the way back. And then so here you have a candle that's pretty close to what we just printed today. So you have a little more of the wick out the bottom. You have the body. You have the wick out the top right there. And then we have very similar. The only difference is we just don't. This is a green candle and not a red candle. And let me show you something that you're going to find funny. So if you look at this candle right here, right? So you look at that candle right there today. And then you look at this candle right here. Okay? Now let me show you something you're going to find pretty entertaining. So let's go over here. I'm going to get rid of this. All right. So when you bring up the bubble chart, right? Not this one. Let's bring up the other one. Hold on. Oops. All right. Come on. Give me a second. Let me bring up this bubble chart right here. All right, so when you bring up this bubble chart right here, and I understand my charts are a little crazy and hectic, right? So if you go back in time, right, here you can see this pink area that we touched right here, right? If you look to the far right, you've got the pink area. And we're going to grab this. We just touched at exactly the same pink area. right? So we came up, hit the pink bubble, hit the pink bubble. So if we go ahead and we're going to throw a linear line on this right there, okay, we're going to turn that pink. We grab this line. Okay, so there we go. So there's our pink line right there. And then you've got your pink line that correlates with this one up here. And it would go all the way up to the top. There it is. So you have exactly the same rejection at the exact same line with the exact same candle on both of these places. You know, which is pretty eerie, right? It's a little, you know, and I love to look at these things, and I love to see these correlations. And the bubble chart is just absolutely magical in its ability to tell the future. So, and you see we had the rejection, and this is why, you know, if you're watching my charts, I said set stop losses for your longs because we'd reached that pink area. We'd also opened up as a group shorts at this point right here. So we had all gone into shorts of some sort, a small or big short. And I want to just, once again, I want to tell you, so this pink area was a pretty massive drop. And now we're here. I'm not saying we're going to drop here. I'm just saying the bubble chart says we're going to drop here. So let's be very specific. VAMP is not saying we're going to drop here. It's the bubble chart saying we have a potential to drop up here. So these pink lines they're real deal. You know what I'm saying? And we really want to keep an eye on this, right? I do think we will get another, I think it's possible to get another pushback up. And I think that because of my Litecoin charts. And we just did have a crossover on the 1 day. So let's just kind of see how this plays out right there.
Can you
go ahead.
Can you bring up the daily on Litecoin one more time if you could?
Yep. Let me go find that.
I did notice something kind of interesting. And then can you maximize the RSI?
Got it. There we go.
And
maximize, you want the daily?
Daily RSI, yeah.
There we go. Let's bring up the daily. All right, let me just brighten this puppy up here.
Yeah. Make it a little fatter. Nice.
There we go.
And then can you draw a descending trend line from December 12th?
Oh.
Yep, go way back.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my chart's messy. Go ahead. Let me copy this. Let me see. How can I do this? Okay, let me do this like this. All right. Select this one. And let's choose what's been around for a while. Kraken?
You can use, actually,
I'll use Binance. Let me use Binance.
which one am I on
I'll use
here?
Bitfinex.
Yeah, use Bitfinex, actually.
Bitfinex.
Actually, that's what I want. Yeah,
there we go.
Use Bitfinex.
All right, so we got a fresh chart. We got a fresh chart right here.
Beautiful.
Okay, now trend line from
December 12th to May 5th, and then to right now. And you see how...
very nice. Look at that.
Now, Bitcoin had a very similar, and Bitcoin broke bullish from this. So Litecoin, this is where that bearish divergence is still showing up in Litecoin's price, where Litecoin should be, in theory, like at $105 right now when Bitcoin's at $7,300. So Bitcoin was able to break above 50 daily, break this resistance line. Litecoin has not yet.
Very nice. Good find on that. That's a great find. Yeah, that's excellent. And it's so funny as we're watching Bitcoin because now all of our members have a Litecoin chart and a Bitcoin chart up, right? They should have them side by side. And we watch the price action of, it's so funny to watch. Like you'll see Litecoin start to take off south. And there's like this small delay, and all of a sudden there goes Bitcoin, right? Just like, just wait for it. I'm like, just wait for it, and then sure enough, there it goes.
Sometimes I actually do like to have multiple. So I like to have Bitfinex, Coinbase, Kraken, Polynex, and you can see sometimes there's arbitrage in prices that give you a leading indicator as to when it's about to pop or it's about to drop. And they're not all the same. So sometimes Coinbase tends to lead the way. Other times Bitfinex seems to react faster. And once you can figure out which one is leading the pack, it might give you a little sense of, you know, your play with a few minute head start.
So you also see that we did get some pretty good calls here. So we had a long call on Litecoin there. We also did have a long call here using the scalper. Now remember, the scalper until 1 mil scalper is only a scalper. So just remember that, people. It is for scalping. All right, let's take a look at some of the other questions we got. Coco says, "Hey, Chart Vamp, can you check out the weekly Bollinger Bands and EMA? I am not a Bollinger Band expert, unfortunately. I will have to get into that. That would be something more Jonas. Maybe Jonas could post something on his channel for you. You have to,
Yeah, I could put out a BB chart later on this evening because they've been, you know, the BBs are great in terms of really understanding how big a move is. So when you see a big move, a bull move, and it breaks way above the upper BB, it gives you a reference point as to understand how either overbought it could be or how oversold it could be. So sometimes a trading strategy is you just buy when it breaks the lower BB and then sell or take profit when you hit the middle. And then if you get to the top, that's when you take the rest of your profit. And that does seem to be, you know, a workable strategy. Volatility, though, Bitcoin is kind of crazy where you're not necessarily sure which time frame your BBs are the most accurate on. So I like to use, you know, multiple ones to use it. Again, using the BBs overall with other indicators to get a little more clarity in the chart.
yes, all right. Yeah, once again, you know. Cinematographers said he's got a Nissan Sentra with a whale tail. Go, buddy. I like it. Let's see if we can pull up. Listen, we've always had, you know, I think I got enough trouble yesterday, boys and girls, calling out Eric Choke, and I think I'm going to take it easy on the drama today, okay? I gotta, I'm going to let that one calm down a little bit. Listen, I've always loved Eric. I always have. I just had to take that shot at him for copying all of our stuff. Still love you, Eric. I love you. Let's see. People are throwing Phil under the bus. We broke the 128-day moving average in 2014 with a similar pump, and then we went below. Yeah, so Metej, so that's what I've always said. We need to close above the 128-day on the moving average on the daily chart in order for me to go bullish. It's just that simple. It's an easy thing for you guys to watch, right? It's an easy thing. You know, the other thing is you really have the bubble charts. I have had the bubble charts up and running. They have been calling some beastly calls. So, you know, they called the bull break. This one called the rejection. So, you know, I have been leaving these up. Now, I would like to say that I have actually added to the arsenal today. So I've actually added a second Alienware computer. I'm setting up tonight, and I will start streaming another 24/7 channel that'll just stream alts. So I'll be putting alts up there. I'll be having, we'll at least start with EOS and Litecoin. So you'll be able to watch one YouTube channel with Litecoin and LTC. Charts up on it, then the other channel will just be for BTC charts, and they'll have all of our targets and everything on there. Let's see. Miguel says, do you use Fibonacci retracements for targets, and what is your short-term target? Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to pull up Bitcoin, let me
I got it. I got it.
Okay. So, I mean, I do like to use fibs. Yeah, I mean, I do like to use fibs. I do find that fibs tend to fall under like the flavor of the month. I remember forever about the 786 was just money. Every time it touched, it was just like guaranteed. There's your bounce point. Um, pulling it up now. Get rid of some negatives here. Let's see.
Just let me know where you want me to pull it from.
So let's pull up the 4 hour, and let me pull. Where is there? We go. Yeah, pull the full hour.
Yep, on the 4 hour.
Let's do. I mean, you really have to ask yourself, where is your two? So if you want to do your swing,
Jesus, I haven't done Fibonacci in so long. Let me go find it. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, if you want to basically, oh, I did that upside down there. 1 second.
Woo! Yeah, we got some serious breakage. 72.86 right now, boys and girls.
Hello. 72. You're right. There it is. It just broke 300. Yeah. I mean, the thing with fib, and let me.
You just tell me where you want it.
Sure. So let's just do a swing low at 6,000.
Are we looking for the retracement or the up?
I'm not sure what he was looking for.
Yeah, just a 60. So the bottom wick right here, 60.89, 60.81.
Yeah.
All right, there we go.
Then we can definitely top out, and the very bullish scenario of 72.50, which is kind of our 0.23. Are you showing the same, something similar there?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so obviously
72.34.
Yeah, so like that was like kind of our first touch, and look, it held. It held. We had a little bounce there, a second touch, and it's just not going to hold. And so, our 0.38 literally puts us at that psychological 7,000, and that's kind of where this is complicated. I mean, the 618, which is where our previous bottom happened when we bottomed from 57 to 68, we actually found support at our 786 area. So if we're going to do something very similar, that could pull us all the way down to around $6,500. But that would break through our neckline. That would break through other supports. So that would almost feel like a too bearish scenario where this overall bullish trend kind of dies out. So I would think a 0.5 at around 68.50, 68.75 coincides with maintaining our neckline break support. A 0.5 is a very respectable retracement, and it still breaks that 7,000 you want to hold, but still gives you a respectable retracement. So if we get down there to a break of 7,000 by a couple $100, and normally I notice that hard numbers tend to have a decent wall there. So I bet you at around 7,000, I'll just use Coinbase as an example, there's probably several hundred Bitcoin there kind of holding up the $7,000 level. So a bear break of that, normally you see that flush come through where we break 7,000 by $100, couple $100, and then that roar buyback kind of pops in. So because the 0.5 coincides with that break of 7K, that initial flush, and then that rollback, something around 68.75, 69 even could be a very respectable bottom retracement looking for that next move higher.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, excellent. Yeah, and I put this is where I have my support down here too. So there's not a lot in this neckline area in this long candle. You see that on the going down, and you see it coming up. There's just no historical supports in here. I don't see a lot of support in here. If this does come down, just like you say, it comes down right here and it taps the 7K right at about 7K. You got the nice little bounce. If this did come down and retrace to here, like you said, I always tell people, whenever you get close to 7,000 or 8,000 or whatever it is, expect some fireworks to happen right about there. Expect something to happen whenever you get to those big round numbers. And yeah, for sure, 7K come down here. we should see a bounce off here. Now, I'm still looking for the crossovers that are still under us, and they're still going to be happening. So I'm still looking for some volatility as this does break down. My support area is the same. I think if we get all the way down here, we got support from pretty much 68.30 all the way down to 6,700. All right. Let's see what our next question is. Where did I get the bubble charts? I created them. And I think I'm probably one of the only people in crypto that has done something like that and created something like that. It's funny. I'm so new to the space. I think that's what's really helped me to grow so quickly.
Mm.
It is challenging, and I got caught up in it when I first started. You start watching people, and you want to fall into what they're doing, and I that's something I really I watch some in my own businesses from what I do in real life. I own a lot of nightclubs and bars, and I watch a lot of people make a lot of stupid mistakes and, throw a million, 2 million bucks down the drain. And I felt that I just applied that to here. I like watching people make mistakes because it helps me learn. And one of the things I learned is that, in my system of trading, I have looked outside of the box to figure
Mm.
out my own trading. And what I've done is I've opened up everyone's box and I've pulled a little piece out of it to make my own box. And it's funny because I see so many people all over the world now emulating my trading style, which is
Well,
great.
yeah. I mean, I've evolved in terms of not only how I trade, but kind of how I create my charts. And it can be intimidating, especially from a time trader, to open up their very first like trading view account and be extremely intimidated by all the tools and the resources that they offer you, looking at other people's charts, not understanding the terminology, why certain trend lines are where they are. What the heck is an A, B, C, D, E, or XY failure Z? A lot of these things make no sense. And at least to me, a lot of it was trial and error, but a lot of it, as you said, is just to get so much perspective, different points of view. You don't want to follow one person. You don't want to follow one trend. And you'll find the market also adjusts. So you might find that a one particular indicator is just spot on, or in terms of a certain stock or a certain sort of coin for a certain amount of time. And then when the market changes, that accuracy kind of wanes. I have to search for what indicator now is basically showing me exactly what I want to see. And it changes, and market cycles change, and how I trade them changes, especially in a bear market when, as we said earlier, everyone's a hero, everyone's a genius in a bull market. And, from basically all of 2017, there were a lot of geniuses out there. And a lot of hubris was kind of built off of that. People thought they had mastered the world. They bought Ethereum at $15. They hold all the way to $1,400. They hold all the way down to $300, and they have no idea what the heck happened. So there were people I used to follow on YouTube all the time that were just kings of the universe because they were into Ether. And just to see some of their more recent videos where you can kind of see this full contrition in their face, where you can just tell, oh my God, they must have lost on paper so much wealth because they just thought the hodl mentality was just kind of hold. And, the hodl mentality and the term weak hands is such a kind of it's a way you can get wrecked, unless you have a very long-term outlook and have the money to play around with.
Yeah, or you bought at an extremely low.
And can absorb the hit, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So and that's one thing when I am trading, I like because I do trade pretty successfully. I always feel I'm playing with house money. So since I'm playing with house money, I feel that there's a lot less stress on me when I'm playing with with free money.
For
Carl
sure.
says, where did I learn about the bubble charts? I created the bubble charts. I didn't learn about them. Mike says, Jonas and Chris, I want to ask you both for your opinions. If you were to open longs from here, what are you looking at for laddering? My suggestion in our VIP group was we didn't have a lot of upward momentum, right? There's
Yeah.
the risk is very high for very little gains here. This is why we opened shorts, because I felt the risk to reward for shorts was greater than it was for longs at that point. Now we are looking for a bounce. We're also still looking for some reaction off of the 6-hour Litecoin and the daily. So you had the 6-hour Litecoin crossover, which where is it at? Let's pull it down here. Now, if you look at what happened here, let's go down and zoom in right to our 6-hour Litecoin chart. Right there you go. So you do have a confirmation. See, they're just kissing. So this has not occurred yet. The crossover has not occurred, and you have Litecoin just plummeting out of the sky, right? So here we go. We got Litecoin, and Litecoin is just totally tanking. Right, we now have Litecoin down to $85. This is a very heavy support range right here. So you do have support right here in this range, right there. There's your support line. Look at it, came down, tapped it perfectly. So I would just be, now this is what I'm watching. I'm waiting because this is not going to close out for another 4 hours and 30 minutes. And then this cross will be complete. I will then be looking for a pump up there. And there, let's put our next level of support. Ooh, that's a toughie. That's a toughie right there. So the next level of support is really tough. I'm not finding, I mean, it might be right there. So that might be our next level of support right there for Litecoin down at 81 bucks. Just got to get through this support. It's going to drop down here. Now this should give us, this super cross down here should give us a nice little kickback up. That's what I'm looking for. But once again, in our VIP group, we were telling people the bubble chart said pull shorts, pull some damn shorts. Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even so for some reason, Coinbase Pro only offers 2 overlays still. It's baffling, but they offer the EMA 12 and the EMA 26. And at certain time frames, they've been relatively accurate in finding resistance points and support points. So for example, on the 6-hour, the EMA 26, is right at about $83. So the 12 was at 86 and we just broke it. We actually did find support over it in the previous 6-hour candle. Now we broke it. So 83, which kind of corresponds to $84, $83 range, was our last little hiccup before our last bullish push, still remains. But again, we're still seeing that bearishness relation to Bitcoin. And, you have to ask, which battles do you want to pick? A Bitcoin move of 4 or 5% up, we're seeing 15 and 20% moves in other altcoins, so when you're seeing bullish divergence like that, even though Bitcoin's rising, it's very tempting basically to play other coins which have shown to have a much stronger. When's the next time we're going to see a 20% daily move in Bitcoin? That would be quite a day for sure.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, seriously. All right. So I just put some notes on there real quick for that chart. All right, let's go down. If this is a wave 4, Matej says, if this is a wave 4, a retrace longer than the 382 is an extended wave 3, which we are in. It's pretty bearish. Yes. So we've seen a lot of deep retracements, and that's one thing that Jonas was just talking about a second ago. Okay, go to bed, deep retracements on these waves. So did you want to comment on that at all?
Well, just that I don't know. I guess what the overall, all right, so in terms of this being like the 4 and this being the retracement, there are charts I saw today that are basically calling this as the top, or maybe there's another couple $100 move to run, and this was apparently the completion of a C wave, and now we're going to continue going down. So until that,
in an impulse wave,
an impulse wave. So until that bearish outlook were to play out, I am still expecting at least an attempt by the bulls to show a solid support. And, whether that's the 0.5, which we just discussed, or even a bullish 0.328, which would be, pretty impressive. And again, that would be backed up by the money flow. So that's something you also want to follow as well. It was very clear that money was really pouring into Bitcoin, and you had several candles, whether it was the hourly, even the 4-hourly, to basically take your long as you saw that kind of movement starting to flow and the money flow starting to tick up. So you'll probably have a similar situation. Market concurs that the retracement of this move is complete, and now we're at least ready to try one more move. We keep seeing double tops happen, or the attempt to make a double top only to basically put in a lower high that is the kind of capper on a failed move, and then we're continuing down. So I don't no reason to feel that this move will basically be any different than the previous, where when it's clear that we can't go any higher, normally signified by a double top lower high, that's kind of been the signal, and then we've basically fallen back ever since. So it's logical to assume that another, at least try and push to get at least back to 75, what did it top out at, 75 and change, 75.80, at least another attempt by Bitcoin to get up there is probably pretty reasonable. But after that, a lower high would be very bearish, and a break of 75.80, we can clearly start putting 7,800 in play.
Yeah, so let's just take a look. So when I talk about, so you can clearly see it's a little hard. Let me zoom in this chart right here, and you can see how Bitcoin was. So you count your candles back, 1, 2, 3 candles, right? These are 4-hour candles, 1, 2, 3. You can see how Litecoin started this movement down first. You can see the movement down started 2 candles ago. Here, Bitcoin started 3 candles ago, and now Bitcoin is going to follow it. Bitcoin is in a bearish rising wedge, and we'll have to see how that plays out. But we got a lot of time in this candle left, 2 hours and 30 minutes. Ish says, what are your thoughts on the 5K BTC prediction by Tone Vase?
I'll take that one there. I like Tone. I watch his shows. He's got like 3 or 4 a day now. I can't even keep track, but I do like to get his perspective and the people that are on that show's perspective. And yeah, for several months he's been calling for at least a test of 5K, and I know he was calling for it like kind of mid-July, corresponding I think to a 9 on his weekly stuff. I know he's a really big fan of the TD sequential. I think we will be down there again. I do not feel that this is the bottom. I think it's kind of hilarious, people on Twitter basically calling bottom. And sure, it's possible, and clearly a pro ETF move would reinforce that substantially if you got a massive bull move off of a yay to the ETFs, which I'm not counting on. So I still feel there's significant downward pressure in the overall crypto market, and really it just has to go all the way back to chart dynamics, where I have never seen a parabolic move not kind of come back very similarly to what Bitcoin should do eventually. And people have to realize, yeah, it went to 20K, but it went from what, like 10K to 20K in 3 weeks, but it took 3 years to go from 1K to 10K. So yes, it went to 20K, but you can't really factor in that top point as significant historical money flow and price momentum. The story of Bitcoin really is between kind of $3,000 and $5,000. And I don't think that battle is played out yet.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. There's nothing I have to add to that. Let's go take another question here. Do either of you guys chart and log? Cody wants to know if either one of us chart and log. I do. I chart and log. I like log.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that I do like charting and log better than linear, but for my style of charting, either one works.
Yeah, I mean, on lower time frame, very close. It's only when you get to a much higher time frame where you clearly see the differential. So if I'm on a weekly, I preferably like to be in linear, just because appearance wise. But you can draw trend lines with log, and you can find completely different historical support and resistance lines. So on our Bitcoin unwind that we're still seeing here, there's precedent for both log and linear that shows different points where Bitcoin was firmly rejected on a log, which has nothing to do with where the linear line was, and vice versa. So they're both very helpful. On lower time frames, there's very little difference, but on higher time frames, yeah, I do like to use linear. But they both can draw very apt, basically, rejection lines that both have played out in both scenarios.
Good, good. All right, so we got Jack. Jack, what's up? Hi, buddy. He says hi in the chat. Christian also, he says, I'm live. I think more likely you should say I'm alive. Rotten Taco says Coinbase is probably the sorriest excuse of an exchange. Man, seriously, they are robber barons with their exchange fees. Absolutely
So I'll
insane.
make one comment on that because I have a lot of experience with Coinbase. In the USA, back a year ago, it was so hard to get onto certain exchanges, and Coinbase was just so easy. So I was doing most of my trading literally on my Coinbase app on my phone, paying insane fees
Insane.
to buy, to sell. I mean, it was ridiculous. And then obviously, as a super noob, discovering GDAX, and then, but still I was doing market orders, paying fees, until I realized that if you just put in limit orders and be patient and basically, bid sit if you want to buy, and then ask sit if you want to sell. If that fills on a limit order, there's no fee. So there's nothing like kind of entering the Bitcoin stream, selling for a profit. And, as a trader, it's so hard to basically buy into weakness and then to sell into strength, because you almost want to do the opposite. You see the red and you want to sell, you see the green and you want to buy. But in reverse, the good traders are basically scooping up the blood and then selling into the bullishness. And that's kind of how you want to trade. At least that's how I see it.
Henceforth, the vampire name.
Love
Let's
that
see.
true blood. Love that
Yeah,
true blood.
that's right. Yeah. What does Jonas think about the tether pump?
It was funny. It was your tweet that brought me to that when you mentioned the $700 million movement of that. It's suspect. I mean, did that just not add significant liquidity into the market? Was that somebody withdrawing his tether, ready to go just to buy a bunch of Bitcoin? It's suspect. I mean, the word manipulation is used quite often, probably too often. The more exposure cryptos have and the more diversification of markets does make it slightly harder to do some of the manipulation that Bitcoin had experienced when there were fewer venues to trade out of. So yeah, I mean, shady stuff, absolutely. But it also could be used as a clear example of, something's about to happen. There's a big move incoming. You brought that to my attention, and then sure enough, you have that big pump like hours later.
Yeah, yeah. With the whole tether thing, I mean, we've talked about it numerous times. I mean, being able to print free money out of the thin air. Hey, listen, it's genius. I'm not going to hate on the guys. It's an absolutely genius business decision. If you think about it, they get to hold on to billions and billions and billions of your dollars, right? It's genius. It's just a genius ploy, And I just wish that I have a lot more respect for BNB than I
Mm.
do for Tether. I have a lot more respect. BNB is right out there, right? This is ours. You're going to buy this. You're going to get a discount. It has a use case. It makes profits. I like BNB. Tether, yeah, really suspect. Really, really suspect.
And with Tether, you're kind of constantly always have that tether implosion term you see a lot on Twitter, kind of always hanging out there, as this theory that, wow, what if tether fell apart, imploded in on itself? Would that be a significant shock to the market? And we have historical precedent, such as Mt. Gox hacking, the China FUD, where certain news events can slash 30% off the price of Bitcoin in a very quick time.
Yeah. All right, we got Bubba in here. Bubba, what's up, man? Bubba's in our Discord. How you doing, brother? Is the megaphone link accurate? I'm gonna have to take a look at that. Matej Turk is asking if we aren't in a position right now, what would you suggest?
Well, again, it depends on what kind of a trader you are. So, like, I always think about, I'm always thinking short term, mid term, long term. So, long term, I'm always thinking about, if you have a cold wallet, if you're very excited about certain coin projects that you want to keep following, but you're just not ready to start loading your bags yet, keeping a perspective like that. So, I'm always thinking about, what are my coins that eventually I want to have part of an overall crypto portfolio? And then what are my just quick hot coins that are happening right now? Clearly the Coinbase pump of XLM, ADA, Zcash, which is just dog crap, ETC and ZRX, clearly that news cycle was a great pump for all those. And now we're seeing, kind of that pullback happening along with Bitcoin. So, there's certain coins that, and a lot of this is kind of an important thing to discuss in terms of stocks. We use the term share structure or the float. With crypto, you always have to keep in mind the supply of coin. So, for instance, Ripple at $3 USD is just ludicrous when there's 100 billion of them out there. Verge, Tron, these have very high supplies. ADA's got like 25 billion, I think. XLM, Lumen is like 15, 20 billion. So, but then ZRX, I think, is like a billion, just a billion, I think. I prefer coins that have a billion or less in terms of supply. Normally, those won't be pennies; those will be more in the dollars range. But I just think it just reminds me of some of the penny stocks I used to trade that just had billions and billions of coin, of stock, of shares out there. And no matter how much money would flow into it, there was just dilution and dilution. So you have to keep that perspective as to why ADA, it'd be insane if it were like $10. It would put its market cap at like hundreds of billions of dollars or something. So in terms of a dollar amount, you have to keep in the back of your head the supply in terms of a perspective of how much of a move something could happen.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Mate, if you aren't in a position right now, man, that's a tough one. I mean, I think this is a tough, challenging place to be in right now. I am expecting some resistance here. I'm sorry, some support here. I'm expecting a little bounce up soon. So this is a tricky place to play. My recommendation is to wait, right? And I know it's very hard for people to wait. I know it's very challenging. But one of the key reasons why I am a successful trader, why we do have successful trades, is because we wait for the right trade setup to occur, and then we jump in a little bit before or as it develops. And we have a lot of tools that we use in the VIP areas in our different groups. And, everybody has their own tools, but one of the things that my strongest tool I feel that I have that's available to me right now is patience. And I think patience is one of the most important trading tools that traders don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that you can't just learn, right? It's not something you learn. It's something that you learn the hard way. So that's my suggestion to get into a position right now. Just wait.
Yeah, I completely concur. It's so hard as a trader to do nothing because you feel like by
Oh,
doing nothing, you're not being proactive, you're not making money. But what you're really doing is waiting for that ideal trade setup. And that's kind of what you want to wait for, is that perfect opportunity. Whereas you say EMAs are crossing, supports are being held, money flow starting to come in, indicators are turning bullish, positive. Those are your moments. And if you miss it, if you miss this move from 63 to 74, don't try and force it now. Just learn from it, figure out what you may have missed in terms of the indicators that were leading up to this bullish move, and then just wait for your next opportunity. Bitcoin presents many amazing opportunities, but sometimes it takes time for them to kind of play out. And sitting on your hands, man, it's tough. It's like poker sometimes too, when you're at a table and you just want to play a hand just because you haven't played a hand in a very long time. And most of the time that can get you into trouble.
yes, exactly. All right, let's take a look at a couple of other questions here. We have, did they cancel the ETF meeting? I have no idea. I have not seen the news that's come out with that. Um, Ron Taco says he thinks the tether pump won't hold. I agree with that. And one thing I have talked about is I also feel, and I'm not sure, let's get some input from Jonas on this. I feel that all the exchanges are defending the 6,000 range. Now, I feel that not only exchanges, but I feel the exchanges and the miners are defending the $6,000 range, right?
See, yeah.
I feel that if the miners out there right now went out and dumped their coins that they're holding onto the market, they would, which they have been, they need to do, they need to pay their bills. But I think that a lot of the mining companies are holding on to a lot of Bitcoin, and they know they can't release it because if they release it, they'll dump the price.
Yeah, that's kind of that catch-22. Talk about miners first. Mining is it's done around the world, and energy costs have a big role to play in that. Where just like oil, Saudi oil, it costs them like $10 a barrel, but West Texas is like $40 a barrel to pull it out of the ground. So Saudis can handle cheap oil, but Texas can't. So similarly with mining, if you're mining in, I think it was like Kazakhstan had the cheapest mining cost of like roughly $1,500 US to mine a Bitcoin, where I believe Korea had the most expensive at like $28,000. So location plays a huge role in mining. And you're right, there could be this kind of dire scenario where a panic could induce the miners to, as you said, dump their coin on the market, which would cause more panic, more liquidity, and it could be kind of a perfect storm there. In terms of the exchanges basically defending 6,000, I totally agree with that. The bot action and the algorithms that I feel I'm constantly watching on GDAX and a few other ones, I mean, sometimes it's so blatant, you just see the same thing just Pong just traded back and forth there. But they're doing that to kind of fill the gap with the lack of volume and money flow that a lot of these exchanges were expecting and had built infrastructure to be prepared for. So where GDAX was crashing when Bitcoin had tremendous volatility back in January, they put tens of millions in creating a better infrastructure to handle immense volume that has come down to almost a trickle over the past several months. So in order to kind of pay for that and to kind of keep the whole thing flowing, significant amount of bot action, I think, bots meaning computerized algorithmic back and forth trading, has been what sustained a lot of the price action we saw over the several months. You could argue that the most recent price action has actually brought in some new money, or at least allows some of the fiat on the sidelines to kind of dip their toes back into the market. We could just go right back into a situation of a low volume area where the exchanges try and defend once again, and they can defend it so much. You get liquidations happening. You get that sense of the market where 5K is not going to hold, and then all bets are off.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. All right, let's go over and take a look at another question. B. Ahmed wants to know when we have $1,000 Litecoin.
So
August.
well, all right. So if you think about from
September.
a Fibonacci expansion, and I'll bring up Silicone on this because I clearly remember one of his videos from back in February, March, where he was calling for a $1,400 Litecoin possibility corresponding with the $400 top off. And that also corresponds with some people's estimates of a Bitcoin 73,000 to 80,000 price based on its 20K top off. So from a fib standpoint, 1,000, 1,400 is of course possible, but let's just say $1,000, $1,000 Litecoin price. What would Bitcoin be at that point? 50G, 60G?
Yeah.
So I mean, it sounds good to me, but that's a long road to hoe. And even to get to 1,000, I could imagine some of the ebbs and flows Litecoin would take to kind of get there. But if we are going to have another parabolic move in the future on Bitcoin that takes the entire market with it up, then sure, it's very logical to assume based on, again, this is a supply issue. I think Litecoin has, 100 million cap supply. So that also would correspond to a reasonable market cap relative to Bitcoin. But you're right, $1,000 Litecoin would put Bitcoin at like 60 grand. So,
All right,
sounds good to me.
Ryan says, "Hey, can you take a look at the 1 hour LTC chart?" Yeah, so I just pulled up the LTC chart. So we had some really good confirmations on it. We had the Beast, the Ultimate, the Beast Scalper by Until 1 Mil called a short on this. It was a great call. We have tanked down. Now, as I look at this, we had one bearish cross. So the bearish cross smacked the price down. And take a look at this. This is where I always like to tell people that EMAs overpower candles. So if you ever look at the vampire strategy and you guys come into the trading rooms, into our groups, you'll see that I have a strategy of trading. One of those is that I rate moving averages higher than I rate candle strength. So here you had a massive bearish, bullish candle. This massive hanging man. What happened was the cross came over and just wrecked that candle. It did tumble all the way down. Let's pull the TD up on this. So here's our, come on TD. Where are you at? There we
We're
go.
on an 8 now. Are we on 8?
Yep, we're on a red 8 now. Now here's the issue. We just hit another bearish cross. So I am expecting this 8 to go to a 9 and even bleed out. I do have a target down here of 84. Have a second target of 81. Let's watch and see what happens here. So I am seeing bearish. This is a lot of bearish signals on the 1 hour for Litecoin. Good job, Ryan. Thank you. What do we got? Brian wants to know how many people have joined our group. I don't keep track of that. I really don't. I try to just focus on trading. I try to focus on the Vamp group. I try to do as much as I can. There's a lot of energy that goes into, keeping the charts going, keeping the stream going, plotting out every day kind of the direction of it. So I mean, there's, people just keep joining, at least the smart ones. Hey, will I get the VIP call from the quarterly subscription? Gone. So I put my calls in the Vamp group. So if you are in the Vamp group, now what's different is if you are in the group at all, you will get access to all of the streaming charts. Just to give everybody a heads up, pretty much coming up here probably in the next week or 2 weeks, you will not be able to see the bubble charts anymore for the general public. That will be we'll have a general public 24/7 chart. It will look like this. You'll have charts that look just like this. It'll have targets. Don't panic. But you will not see the bubble charts. So the bubble charts will be for members only. just makes people feel more special too. You know, that's a lot of really good. The bubble charts are a lot of work, and I put a lot of love and a lot of work into them. And I will start doing bubble charts for all the other altcoins also. Um, uh, Turk says, "Hey, I meant for the situation at the moment into a short on BTC, long on Litecoin, or so my issue, Turk. What we're trying to say is there's not a lot of upside here. The upside risk is higher than the downside risk, but the problem is you're caught in a scenario where you have limited downside for a bounce right now, and you have limited upside. So it's a bad trading area. I would just sit on the sideline and wait for a better setup. See, right here you see on the 1 hour chart we're on a red 8. I will tell you this will probably bleed out. This will probably even go to a 9 and then probably just bleed out before we get a bounce right here. You got to be really patient and just watch for our calls. Jonas is always posting some amazing updates. Just keep an eye on all of our pages.
Yeah, and I would also add to that with Litecoin that if you were to see a Bitcoin pop where it does find a bottom and it does break the previous resistance and move higher, I would still expect almost a kind of continued bearishness where so if Bitcoin goes higher than 7,500, you would assume that Litecoin would be able to potentially break $94. I'm just not seeing that yet. I see 94 as a very firm, very hard resistance. And then even if you were to break that, then we can talk about how strong $100 is for a significant resistance level. So you're right. There's limited upside and still a couple bucks downside, and we're just not seeing that definitive bottom yet on Litecoin. And I agree, somewhere between 81 and 84 should find some support to at least make some sort of a bounce, turn around. The RSI is still cooling off. The 1 hour still could go lower, and a slight turn, but still not really changed yet. And the 4 hour is still very high though. The 4 hour could suggest it could definitely move lower.
All right, excellent. So let's go over and take. Yeah, Bubba says stay out. Good advice, but it's so hard. Trust me, even for me, it's tough. And listen, guys, I understand wanting to be in a trade. If you want to get in a trade, you want to have fun, you want to be in it just to do a little scalping. Just play with a small amount. That's what I do, right?
Yeah.
Which one is more secure, USDT or TUSD? Okay, first of all, I love how they took the T and moved it to the front of it. All right, come on, let's get a little more creative, people. Okay, let's get a little more creative there. And all right, what's your thoughts on token pay? We'll let Jonas take this one.
Sure. Well, I just have a real quick comment about the USTD.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I've used is it TrueCoin, whatever it is. I've used it on Bittrex. Basically, it's supposed to be pegged at $1 to Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin rises, this is supposed to basically fall from a Satoshi standpoint in a 1-to-1 ratio. So it's always supposed to hold roughly $1. In terms of security, I don't really see a difference as long as the exchange you have it on doesn't screw you over. And I've used it in the sense where Bittrex didn't have a tether kind of option. So whenever I wanted to get out of crypto, I literally would have to basically convert back to Litecoin,
what a nightmare.
send it to Coinbase, convert it to fiat, and then be safe that way. And then when they added TUSD, I was able to basically make my trades and then convert the Bitcoin into TUSD. And sure, it totally worked and it was secure. So as long as you have faith in your exchange you're using it on, I don't have any problem with you using it. In terms of token pay, this is one of those like Charlie Lee kind of ideas that is one of those things that like I see the GIF with the dude's like, It's one of those like, kind of situations there. I know Vase thinks it's a scam. I don't know. I don't know what to think about it. I mean, Litecoin needs to keep proving more use of functionality. And so I guess token pay and the way it's trying to partner with Litecoin community could be a positive thing if it is actually a real thing. What would be a bad thing is that the whole kind of deal and what half falls apart, and that would be just additional FUD that Litecoin really doesn't need.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's move on. Vervi says, what are your thoughts on some people thinking that all coins should be pegged with Bitcoin? Will that help Bitcoin versus all coins? So, I think this is the main net question, how they've been, trying to, what I see is I see that a lot of the coins are trying to get away from being pegged to Bitcoin simply to try to help buffer them from the bear market. And it is not helping. It is clearly not helping. Now, it does make it easier to get in and out of those coins, right?
That's the advantage. And it's a really good advantage because most people just think, oh, I want to buy something, but buy a coin, not really understanding I have to convert my cash more likely into Bitcoin and then use the Bitcoin to then purchase this coin, or Ethereum, I guess you use Ethereum in some circumstances. But yeah, you're right. And it even comes with charting too. Like, I get this as question asked to me a lot. It's like, which chart should I use? The USD chart or the BTC chart? And it's a good question. And the answer is they're both very valid, but they both give you different information, different indicators. But when it comes to money, like your alt can be, at a value, and then Bitcoin drops 10%. And even if your Satoshi level in your alt has remained relatively stable, the actual USD value of that is down 10%. So you have to keep factoring that in. I think for a lot of noobs, it's easier to buy, and newer traders, easier to buy with USD flat. This makes a lot more sense to them. The whole Satoshi thing, for me at least, was very confusing. I just didn't understand it when I first started trading Bitcoin and crypto, and now it makes sense, obviously. But so it definitely is helpful for newer traders to get money into the market. But I don't know. I don't know what kind of a dynamic it will play out in the future as more and more of these alts are being able to be purchased with USD directly.
Yeah. No. I feel that this creating this style of buffer is smart. I also feel it is the exchanges who are part of this. They are trying to protect themselves and their exchanges. You just get that much easier trading in and out of it. I think that the exchanges, once again, this just goes to show how the exchanges are trying to defend, Bitcoin just falling out, because we all know the second Bitcoin starts falling, everybody starts panicking. You have to go from your TRX to Bitcoin, from Bitcoin to Tether or TrueUSD or whatever it is. You got to make 3 trades just to get. Well, some people are trapped in like 5 or 6 alts, so they got to make 5 or 6 trades just to get out of 2 coins. It's tough.
Sure. And there's fees involved, and it gets really complicated.
Exactly. Good for people. Still, I think it's good for traders in general. Mac wants to know Bitcoin direction short term. He wants to know, is this a bull trap in your opinion?
I think, as we've discussed, I think there's a good possibility that 7,800 can be tested. I expect a firm rejection there, a break of 7,800, and definitely the 8,000s are in play. Personally, though, I just can't see breaking 8,000 with big money volume conviction. It just doesn't seem like the value is there in Bitcoin. And it's like, if you hated it at 6,000, are you going to buy it at 8,000 now? Because now you feel like, oh, we turned the corner. So I almost feel like the closer we get to 8,000, it just becomes more of like I just can't see it happening. At least not yet. If we can keep these levels for a longer amount of time, it could build up a better base to try and test those higher points. But from at least for the rest of this week, a good achievement would be to basically maybe try and break 75 to retest 78. But more than likely, we might just need to continue to correct from this move we just had.
Yep. All right. So I brought up a chart from Bubba. Bubba's in our chat. He says that he's looking at this possible megaphone playing out. So, this is, I still see a pump back up. I mean, I definitely do. Now, could this be an A, B, C, D, E with an E wave that would fall out here? That's also possible. We both agree, getting up here and retesting this area is definitely definitely a possibility. There's, we're on the same team here. Great chart. Good eye there on that pattern. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, and I've been trying to chart basically a channel. A lot of my videos, my quick vids I put out show this channel that I've been watching Bitcoin kind of drop in and drop out of. And if Bitcoin was to continue to ride the top part of this channel, the channel takes it like right to 7,800. And that's kind of why I agree with that kind of megaphone. Is that like a broadening wedge?
Yeah,
Yeah. But sure, that fifth touch, basically right at, well, he basically had it at what, like 7,800. Like that's a very
7,800. Yep.
Yeah. I mean that's a possibility, and again, that does correspond to the completion of the inverse head and shoulder, top of head to the neckline, and then expanding that on a 1-to-1 ratio. So all bullish signs still point to 7,800 as a target to reach for. After that, I mean, I have no guarantees, and even 78 can still be hard. I mean, a lot of this move here to me still feels a little suspect, and I keep watching the longs and the shorts, try and get a sense if one side is too out of whack, if the longs are too bullish, and if the shorts are too bearish. I was kind of surprised too the shorts didn't sell off as much as I thought they would have on that move. Chart Guys actually brought this up in his video that he was making the assumption that people that are short are basically holding red positions right now. So there's a chance if Bitcoin did pop bullish to 78, there could be a fierce liquidation in the shorts just because they're maintaining their area right now. Now, we have been talking about this major cup and handle that the shorts formed and broke out of that descending falling wedge bullishly in the short term, which is an inverse negative to the price of Bitcoin. But so we're still seeing that potential where you want to see that eventually rise higher and complete that cup and handle formation. That still hasn't played out yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I'm just bringing up so I just brought up a long and short chart. You can see that the longs are still way up there. The RSI for the longs is still low, so they are not. Neither one of these are in danger. The shorts are not in danger of a short squeeze. I feel the longs are not in danger of a long squeeze right now. It's just market forces. So I feel what's occurring right now is just pure market forces.
Yeah, I agree. There really isn't. We have seen in previous history, we have seen patterns where the shorts were way overbought, or the longs were way over bullish, and that can contribute to violent market moves. But you're right; we're just not seeing anything kind of really out of the standard deviation just yet.
Yep. One comment I want to make on the Litecoin chart is we are at the bottom right now in the RSI in the 1 hour. So I do expect, so we did get just a long call right there. So let's see how this long call played out on the scalper. So I did see we were down at the very bottom. So this is a scalp call on the scalper. Let's see how this plays out. I would still be very wary here. I would just, if you are making a scalp call, I would be going through, just getting a good confirmation So look, you got a 9 on the 2 hour. Also, you got a you're really deep on this 3. This is not a bullish candle though. Let's take a look at the 6 hour. Same thing. So let's go down to the 12 hour. You know, don't see either. The only thing I see is just that 6 hour cross. So the 6 hour cross is the only bullish sign I see. It is crossed, it is touching. I do expect a retracement here. So I am just waiting for that retracement. There should be a bounce here somewhere from this bullish cross.
Yeah, it's defending 85 even pretty firm. I mean, even just on a super low time frame on the 5 minute I'm seeing here, we touched 85, a little bounce, touched it again, a little bounce, and then we put in by pennies a slightly higher low. So it is trying to find support at 85 even here.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're seeing a little stability over the past hour and a half in that price range.
Yeah. All right. Let's go over here. Next question. Oh, geez. Crypto Nige. Thoughts on alts will what alts will do if BTC drops further, noting they have all almost fully retraced back 3 to 4 days ago prices at strong supports. So what he's asking is, what do you think alts will do if BTC dumps? We had a question earlier. I forgot to say it, but what there was another question that says, what do you think would happen to alts if BTC ran 20%? Let's hear Jonas's take on that real quick.
So, all right. So a bullish scenario where if Bitcoin was to roar to, let's just say, $8,500. So, you know, what we've seen in the past is Bitcoin moves forward, it roars, it pauses, kind of chills out, and then the alts kind of follow suit. Now, remember, if Bitcoin goes up 10% in a very short amount of time and your Satoshi level price of your alt doesn't move, the overall USD value of that, though, has increased. So you've already made value, even though your alt maybe hasn't moved, but the price of Bitcoin has. So that in itself is positive. Now, again, with the coins, it seems to be specific coins are moving for specific reasons, whether it was the Coinbase coin pumps or whether it was just the chart pattern. But I'm seeing a lot of altcoins that are breaking below their initial ICO pump, and that basically shows market discovery of the actual price is still ongoing, and you're kind of consistently see that with new coins that come on the market. So a bullish move in Bitcoin will absolutely help the overall alt market, and you know, people will end up, you know, taking their Bitcoin profits and probably spreading out into alts. A bearish view, where if Bitcoin is firmly rejected, let's say it's 78, and you know, falls pretty quickly, showing up this run is basically over. That's where, because the alts have bled out so much over the past, you know, 6-7 months since their peak in let's say, you know, January. People are going to be extremely surprised at really how low they can go when they actually drop 100% or even more than 100%. Seeing what some older Satoshi levels used to be in certain alts. I'll use one example, like Redcoin or even Doggy Coin, you know, which is at like, what, 60 Satoshi. But that used to be at like 2, 3. So you get a sense about how epic that move was from a 2 Satoshi, which is sub penny USD, to a 50 Satoshi, which is still sub penny USD. But from a valuation standpoint, it's a tremendous move. People need to realize that these alts can fall back so much further than even where they are now. And the blood, like, you haven't seen anything yet in terms of how far these alts can part, and you're going to see a lot of them just get delisted, which we see already, and that move will continue, especially with a failure to hold 6,000 in Bitcoin. I think you would see that across the board. A lot of alts just kind of fall off the wayside.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when I see Bitcoin run hard, in the bullish direction, I see altcoins often get left behind. So when people are just trying to FOMO in as fast as they can, if we've got a 20% launch off, if we've got some kind of a rocket launcher, and we just took off 20%, you'll see Bitcoin alts lag immensely. They're lagging so hardcore. And I see when we do dump, though, that Bitcoin does drag the market down substantially. I like playing altcoins in a sideways action market, even
Yeah.
more of a sideways up when you're kind of gradually moving along and you're going like up, 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 just in baby steps. That's when I like alt season. I like to play it then because Bitcoin is stable. You don't have to worry about getting wrecked, right? You can just kind of play it out. It'll only, you get 20, 30 days of it's all you need, and
Right.
you make all those profits and then you get the hell out.
Yeah, and in terms of certain alts, like there's another thing you have to realize is some alts have been trading for years. So there's a lot of price history that you can look at with some coins that have been trading since 2014, 2015, and you see how many parabolic moves they've had, how they've given all of it back numerous times, and you get a sense of the secular movements in these coins. And that also gives you faith that those secular bullish moves will happen again at some point.
Good, good. Yep, I agree. So Matt says, "Great video, boys. Insights are unmeasurable. Thank you so much. Good night,
Appreciate it.
Matt." And Matt's hitting the bed. Do you guys think Trump and the Russians are rigging the BTC market? Listen, I think the Russians did it 100%. I think the that new wallet that was opened up for the 700 million, I think it was all run rubles. It was all paid for in rubles. Tech,
I,
go ahead.
I laugh at when the mainstream media, they'll bring up Bitcoin in terms of like a nefariousness, like, oh, they laundered the money with Bitcoin, where they really don't talk about how many $100 bills are laundered like every day. So it's like Bitcoin isn't the first use of money laundering.
Yeah, exactly. Tech is in the house. What's going on, brother? How you doing? All right, what do we got here? Do you guys think all altcoins are scams? I do not, Brian. I don't think all altcoins are scams. I don't think Verge is a scam because it has a use case right now. It's being used fundamentally. I think that BNB is an amazing coin. And I've said this numerous times. I actually think that the most valuable coin in the crypto space right now is BNB. If I were an investor, right, and I were investing in a profit that I would like to see make profits, BNB makes a killing. It makes an absolute killing. I mean, it's a perfect business model. It has a captive audience that if they want to reap the rewards, they will buy the coin, right? And the original shareholders who have the majority of the coins, of course, are Binance, right? So as it's gone up, Binance is making bazillions of dollars out of a coin they made out of thin air, right? It cost them zero to make it. So every one of those zero cost coins they made is now worth, what is it, at $9 right now, or $10, whatever BNB's at. I mean,
Yeah.
they're gazillionaires, right?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with all that. I just pulled up the B&B chart, just take a look at it. It looks like it did break a historic support line, trend line that had been holding it up basically since December. So that's kind
Yeah,
of interesting there.
yeah, it was taking a beating. It needed to retrace. It
Yeah,
needed to
oh, it
re
was an amazing bullish move. I mean, it looks like ZRX almost.
Yeah, it was like a 110% move. All right,
Yeah.
sorry, let's move on here. Robert is asking, so what an exact probability of a future event? Oh, Robert wants us to hop in this time machine. Uh, Thank you, Jersey guy. No, excellent, dude. This is super exciting. I'm glad we could get Jonas on here as a guinea pig. He said, "What is an amazing combo, guys? Thank you so much." And Jonas is our official guinea pig today. He will be paid 7 EOS for saying nice things about me. I will ship that to his wallet later.
Woohoo.
What's a good amount to start with when trading futures? Mark wants to know.
I don't know. I don't know that one. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I don't trade futures, so that's a really good question. I
Yeah,
have
it's
got
not
to
my
learn
bailiwick.
that. Yeah. Uh, the pitchfork channels are great, Jonas, Carl says.
Yeah. Listen, TradingView gives you such great tools to play with, and I like using the pitchfork because it kind of flows with my whole channel trading that I like to use a lot. And basically, what the pitchfork allows you to do is kind of set multiple parallel channels. What's fascinating is when you feel you've kind of set your pitchfork perfectly, how accurate the levels of support and resistance can become. This is what you have up in your chart here is just basically a simple parallel I've been using, and it's been very effective. Once I've been able to determine our overall bull channel, we broke out of it using Litecoin here as an example, and then when we were able to break back into it, our obvious first sign of rejection was going to be our middle support turn rejection area, and we hit it to a T. Now, Bitcoin, similar chart, blew right past the middle, but got firmly rejected at the upper one. Maybe a couple charts back there, I had something. Actually, just on the video there, you can kind of see a little higher, a little higher. Right there,
Oh,
stop.
right there.
Just the video, just the flat of the video. You clearly see where I marked where the top Bitcoin price nailed the upper previous bull channel that had broken out and just roared back in. So, well, Litecoin was only able to hit the middle channel resistance. Bitcoin blew right through it and hit the upper channel resistance, but still hit it and was held firm. And that line has held firm for weeks, you know, that angled line there. So this is a good example of how channel trading, basically choosing to buy when you're hitting the bottom of a channel and then setting in your sells if you can get to the top of it, is a great way to trade and basically stick to a discipline.
Yeah, excellent. Trying to make this. Oh, there we go. I had it for a second. Trying to make it a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So good, good, excellent stuff. All right, let's look at our next question here. Ryan says, Mark, Claudio used the Bittrex, the BitMEX testnet to start. So what Ryan is saying is he's answering the question for the futures. He's saying use the testnet. That's always great. Paper trade, people. If you're new to
Right.
trading, paper trade. Okay. Bubba says if we break 3 after 5, we will fall out. If we bounce 3, test fatty. Oh, got it. He's talking about his. So he's bringing up his microphone again. Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Bubba, you're correct. Yeah, we'll be watching that channel. I'll go ahead and I can put that megaphone channel in my pattern on my chart. Jersey guy, you guys both seem to have some interest in EOS. Thoughts on chart longer term given that Supercross if fundamentals come together. Okay, so he was asking about EOS. So let's bring up some EOS
My
chartage.
quick thoughts on EOS, kind of chart related, is they raised like $4 billion, you know, in their ICO pre-ICO thing. So from just an overall standpoint, they got a lot of money to burn to keep the whole EOS idea, you know, moving forward. So they're going to continue to be a coin that has significant money flow. It's very tradable. But in terms of long-term prospects, I don't see how it's very different from Tron, really, to tell you the truth.
Yep. All right, so we had that play out. So we clearly had the 12-hour clearly had the Supercross play out. Which okay, so now there is a difference I have discovered between the Supercross that we had over on Litecoin, and then I can bring up that Litecoin chart. So on Litecoin, and let me squeeze these charts side by side. This is something I've discovered. Another Vamp exclusive here. So here you had the MA, and what happened was this MA pierced two MAs exactly at the same time, and that was different than when Litecoin. Here we go. Here was our So when I look at this, this was a supercross. That's what I've been calling it, right? So you
Hmm.
had a very narrow time frame. You had a multiple MA cross in a very narrow time frame. So literally, this happened in like 12, it just one candle, it just ripped right through it, right? So that gave us, so this, you got this massive bullish candle also that perpetuated from it. Now when we crossed two MAs at the exact same time, it had almost no effect, or it acted like a single standard cross, right? This just gave me the effect of a regular bullish cross. This did not give me the same effect as a bearish cross. And remember, if you guys are watching my charts, I called this, I said this is called the triangle of doom for the bears at the time. I'm now calling it a super cross. And boy, was it. That was just, that wrecked a lot of hearts and souls and ripped the hearts out of a lot of people who were in shorts. Uh, we did have a short scalp called on this, so there was money made on the short scalp, but then this just wrecked the crud out of everything. So there is a difference. You have a super cross here, and then this was just a standard cross on EOS. I do like EOS. I like playing EOS. I don't really understand the fundamentals of EOS. I don't. I don't look into it. I know I like the fact that it's pumped by that is shilled by the Chinese government. That's awesome, especially if you're an investor, which somebody clearly is in the Chinese government. Somebody in the Chinese government was given a couple 100 million or 50 million EOS, and he's out there shilling the crap out of it. Good for him. But other than that, I like to play EOS because it has these radical price movements, which are amazing for gains.
Yeah, and it's this is kind of a cool example about when to use USD versus BTC in your charting. Um, I was just kind of playing around with a variation of which chart shows, I don't know, more of a bullish sense. I mean, the retracement brought the price of EOS from $1 on the USD. Basically, it was able to find support around the 786 fib. So that's encouraging. That's what you want to see. And definitely had a pretty nice bounce there. And I would like to see a retest of that fib, which puts it right around $7.80 to confirm the hold. The USD chart does show that the support found at $6.50 touched a very strong historic support line. But from a Satoshi standpoint, it hasn't even come close to touching that support line. So I'm actually seeing kind of a more bearish sense. I still feel it's coming down more, I'm saying, basically. I'm bearish on the chart. It had such a roaring open to it as kind of claiming it was what, like the Ethereum killer.
That's right. Yep.
All the best of Ethereum without any of the worst of it. And that was a very successful moment. I remember this was one of the big winners when a lot of stuff was kind of falling apart. So yeah, it did break, and it's funny. I'm looking at one of my old pitchfork charts of it, and it actually was able to break into the other realm of the next fork, and then it was firmly rejected and fell back into its previous one there. So it's still kind of struggling, trying to kind of keep moving forward, but because of its parabolic move from ICO, I still see further decline.
Yeah, excellent. Good. Yeah. And you can see here's the EOS chart laid out. We do have the scalper, a lot of great long and short calls by the scalper here. When I do bring up my historical resistance on EOS, you can see, I kind of tracked this down. It never really hit. It was almost got to where I'd pegged out. I pegged it out at $6.40. I then had the next target down at $5.30. I still have EOS at, I feel it'll get down to $3. $3. And let me show you why I feel that, because I'm looking for this big scooping. This is where I see some serious support, where I would like this baby to get down there. You can talk anywhere in, this range right here, something like this. From there, right there, right in there. I still think this is a possible bottom for EOS.
Yeah, there's a lot of price history in the all in the $3 area there back in December.
Yep, three. Yeah.
Yeah, it found a great nut bottom, like right a hair under $4. It looks like.
Yeah, so we can basically put a channel in here where you've got a bunch of resistance in there,
Yeah,
right?
and from the overall, if you basically do a fib from, when it was at 55 cents, and you go all the way up to $22, um, that basically puts you
Whew!
somewhere.
And I got to find the
Yeah,
top there. That thing is way up there.
that was quite a move. It was, I mean, that you want to talk about a parabolic move for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that basically breaks the 78.6 and puts us, in somewhere in the 85% retracement area there from the top.
Yep. Yep. There you go. Yep. And look at there. Look at there. That's excellent. So here you have right. You're right in this range. So this let's throw a second little channel right here. So you kind of have that little channel right there, right? We had a question by let's see here. Somebody thought there's Eric. Eric says, "Hey, there's a bullish engulfing on the weekly, also on the monthly. If we can break and hold above 7,800, that would be a good sign." So I don't see this as a bullish engulfing candle. There was no engulf. This was the only engulfing candle we had right here. It was, it's been 5 weeks, 4 weeks ago. So this was the only engulfing candle right here. Let's go. We can take a look at the monthly though. Okay, so yes, you do have an engulfing candle, and I do believe this is a bullish engulfing, right? And so there's your monthly. Let's take a look at right here. Now you would, if this got up to 7,800, you would possibly make a tweezer top, right? Kind of like this right here, and then it would fall out again. So let's see what happens there. All right. Now, if this does,
78 would be a big tweeter top if it failed. Yeah.
yep, if this came up, hit 7,800, and then bounce back down, and let's go over and take a look at our weekly. On the weekly, yeah, just I don't. This candle doesn't do anything for me. The 3-day candle really is what kind of. No, I'm sorry, it was the weekly candle. Where is it at? The one day. Nope. I thought we had a super bearish candle on one of these things. Bullish. Oh, there it is. Sorry, it's right here. You had a really good hanging man candle, a hammer candle right here. This is a great hammer candle, very bullish candle, and we took off. Now, if you look on the 3-day chart, I'm not sure where we are in the timeline for the 3-day chart, but you see that the 3-day chart did hit significant support, actually resistance, and if we did hit that next resistance line, it would be right there, which is 7777. Some lucky sevens right up here. If not, it would be right in this range, 7,600. That's where it already hit and got rejected. So, all right, let's go take a look at the next question. Is there any, Gon says, are there any alts you guys think got a huge potential in recent short term? He's basically saying, what do you think has got a lot of potential here short term?
I mean, I'm not gonna name a specific alt. I mean, overall, I have to be bullish on the potential Coinbase coin alts. When Coinbase decides to start adding them, and apparently Ethereum Classic could be the first one, there's going to be a lot of excitement. I mean, today you had, was it Binance added Ardor, I believe, to its marketplace, and Ardor had an insane move, like 50% before it put in a nasty wick there. So the newest toy in the store, was coin to be purchased on an exchange like Coinbase, which a lot of Americans use, is going to be a very big day, especially a coin, because for a lot of people's experience, Litecoin has been the cheap one on Coinbase. So now they're offered a coin that they can buy for $16. That's crazy. I don't know how they're going to do with like ADA and XLM. they're like 50 cents and stuff. I mean, that's going to add tremendous, at least short term, I feel, a lot of bullishness to those coins. So I think a lot of the reason why they probably made this announcement kind of in the dead of summer is to kind of lessen some of that. And maybe it was what they had learned from their Bitcoin Cash edition debacle. So in trying to stretch out these announcements, I believe that has lessened some of that craziness that I believe will happen when the eventual coins start showing up. And all that I'm talking about here is just exposure. You're going to put so much more exposure to more phones, more Coinbase apps with the availability to buy these new products that from a USD standpoint seem incredibly inexpensive compared to what has been available since. So do you want to buy half a Bitcoin, a couple of Ethereum, 10 Litecoin, or you could buy a few thousand or tens of thousands of, Cardano if you want soon enough. So that will be a major impact to those coins. In terms of other coins, it's just the charts that I basically want to see if something's in a good perspective. But we've seen examples today, Ripple, where the chart was, you were looking for, when is XRP going to follow suit in terms of bullishness like we're seeing, and it did the reverse. I think TRX had a similar system where everybody's looking for the bullish push in Tron and never happened. So that might speak more to the fundamentals of the project than the chart itself.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's see. Showtime says, anyone know the MA settings? Is it 20, 50, or 100? Yep, Eric, thanks, buddy. It is 730, 50, 100, and 200. Yep, Eric, thanks. Excellent answer, buddy. Thank you. Mac is asking, realistically, how low can Bitcoin go? You know what? We're going to save that for another show because that's very debatable. I myself like to go layer by layer. I don't like to put out that kind of FUD. Let's just kind of let's leave that for another show.
Yeah,
right?
if we start breaking 6,000, by all means, we can start having the debate, the discussion of a sub 5,000 Bitcoin price. But until then, yeah, I agree, it's not worth even talking about.
Yep. Does anybody have a copy of Mr. Joey? You're hilarious, dude. Mr. Joey likes cheese. We're gonna show he's hilarious. Brian says, how old are we? I am, so first there was dirt, then there were rocks, and then the vampire came along. So that's how I like to tell people. I have 30 forever.
I was born in the Highlands of Scotland, mortal, so pretty old.
Do you guys see, iTemplar says, hey, do you guys see the bullish Stoke RSI divergence on the weekly? Considering
Yeah, I actually know exactly what you're talking about. It did break bullish. Let me pull it up here. I love using the stochastics RSI in conjunction with my RSI because the RSI is one line, and then the stochastics, you actually are able to use a crossover. So it kind of gives you, oh, look at that, that's a bullish cross, or oh, that's a bearish cross. So it gives you a little more information. It's great to use in conjunction with your RSI. And yeah, it was the weekly that I actually noticed this a couple days ago that we definitely had a very nice bullish turn there on the stock, and they're still spreading out bullishly. So even in this very minor pullback in the price of Bitcoin, we have not seen that yet reflect bearishly yet in the stock price. The stock RSI price on the weekly chart. So the weekly chart is clearly showing some significant bullishness, as well as the RSI itself on the weekly has a nice uptick as well.
Nice. All right, perfect.
But actually, if can you pull up the RSI on the weekly alone?
Well, the RSI, add it on here.
Just the RSI on the weekly.
Yep.
Because we're hitting a very interesting area of resistance on the weekly RSI.
There we go.
Yeah, and then go back to, so draw a horizontal.
How far back?
Oh, so
I have this is probably Binance. How far? Oh
I'm
no, this is
on.
Bitfinex. Bitfinex goes. Yeah,
Yeah.
this goes all the way
So I
back.
go. Yeah. Go back to June. Actually, yeah. So just right where the RSI is, click your horizontal trend line perfectly. And if you go all the way back to to July of 2015, you'll see we're right at 47. So you'll see that 47 there acted as a little support and was broken. And then more recently, February of 18, 47 on the weekly RSI acted as brief support before it was broken once again. So 47 on the weekly RSI is a number that has acted as both support and as resistance. And currently acts as resistance right now as it's being hit against it. So if we broke 47 on the weekly RSI, I'd be shooting for a 52 basically as that next level to touch. And that would only mean that we have bullish continuation in Bitcoin.
All right, excellent. Yeah, that's a great. That I love charts like this where you have that kind of a historical.
Mm,
And yeah, if we did have a rejection from this level, it would be traumatic for sure.
mm.
Yeah, great job. All right, and
Let's do a few more.
yeah, let's do a few more and then we'll call it a day. Um, let's see, let's get a good one. Jonas, they want to know when you're going to admit to being Seth Rogen.
You know, I'm I don't hear it. People think I'm Seth Rogen. I will take that as a compliment. I'm a fan of some of his work.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I am not Seth Rogen. Um,
we'll see. I think he
I am
secretly could be.
taller. I think I'm in a little better shape.
All right, let's do Hamzel. Listen, balancing crypto life and sleep alone is a huge job. So how to balance it with our girlfriends and wives and life and small children is really challenging.
It
Um,
is. And I just want to say one thing about that is like your Bitcoin is 24/7, 365. So even though it's always there, it doesn't always have to be watching it, even though I am very neurotic about constantly wanting to know what happened.
yeah. All right. Brian wants to know if I drink blood. Yes, I am a real vampire. And I will be writing a book, another book. I've told people about that. I've started writing a book called Vampires, Werewolves, and Sheeple. And it's about how we have all continually evolved and how living forever is not living forever immortally. It's being remembered forever. Yeah, next is go ahead. I'm going to let you take this one on. There's a question on TRX and the Tron net. You want to go ahead and handle that one?
Just the process. It's just the process of remove. Is that the one you're talking about there? Do I see bullish stock RSI? I don't know much about the Tron net and the TRX. I know that they're trying and have had a little issues in terms of the implementation um, of their Tron net. You know, I see Tron and I see Verge as very similar coins, mostly because I remember them, they were both being pumped simultaneously back in January, and they both had a very similar cult following. And I also saw a very similarities where Verge would pump and Tron would stay still, and then Tron would pump and Verge would stay still. So it almost felt the same. Communities are both buying Verge and Tron. They're both kind of in the crapper in terms of the chart right now. And until Tron can get its act together with its main net, you kind of see some continued bearishness. And again, Tron is another one of those coins that has a significant supply out there. So there's a lot of it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I have always loved trading Tron. I don't really know the fundamentals between Tron and or EOS. It's not something I really keep up with. I do know that TRX. I like the fact that TRX is being used. There is use case for TRX, and that's something good. I do like that. Yeah, we're probably about 2 hours deep into this, boys and girls. And I think we're going to call it a break right here. We're going to call it a night. Man, I'd really like to say thank you to Big Jonas for joining us. Wow, what an absolutely informational stream this was. I will dump this out. It'll take a while to upload for sure. If you have a chance, please go over, give the man some likes, give him a shout out. You know, one of the most important things you guys can do on Twitter to help all of us out, to help all the people out there in the crypto community, is give him a friendly shout out. You know, give him a follow. One of the key things is there's guys like Jonas out there, myself, until, you know, we're out there trying to save the world from bad TA, right? We're doing everything we can every day to make sure, you know, things that happened to me when I first got into the space don't happen to other people. I'd also like you to know that Jonas is available for tutoring. He's out there for you guys. Hit him up. He would, you know, he's available. He's easy to talk to. I love his trading style. So, you know, it's good to find people who are patient and can show you the light and help you see like little things that you might miss in your daily trading. Once again, I want to make sure that you guys all understand we are not signals guys. At least I myself am not a signals guy. You know, we're out here, we're trying to teach you guys to be good traders. We're trying to show you guys the light. And anything you can do to help us out to reach out into the world of crypto and bring more people in to the light, and so that we can help them, is much, much, much appreciated. And you know, that's all I gotta say. Jonas, I want to say thank you so much for being here, buddy. Really appreciate your time.
Dan, thank you so much for having me tonight. This was wonderful. Spontaneously happened, and this was a great several hours of just talking crypto with you. Thank you so much for everybody that joined our chat. As Vamp said, yeah, I am working on a mentoring program. I plan to release a little more information about that in about a week or so, and a little program project that I'm planning for August. So I'm pretty excited about that, and we'll have more information very shortly in due time. And I hope someday you can stop on by my channel and we can talk some crypto. Once again, this is such an exciting time to be playing this market. And I think this is a great time that if you are a new trader, you can really learn during this kind of time of price consolidation. And the longer, the more information that a trader can process and understand, the better he or she will be. So as Vamp said, we like putting out, you know, quality content when we see certain things in the chart that we want to make note of. I don't normally call out specific buy and sell targets. I mostly like to point out interesting ideas I see in the chart, interesting indicators and how they're being reflected to price action. And once again, I appreciate everybody stopping by and listening to us, and I hope we can do it again sometime soon.
All right, with that, we're going to say goodbye to all our crypto heads. You guys all trade safe. Remember, please, never all in and never all out on trades. There's never a reason. Just remember, ladder and set those stop losses. From all of us here, we want to say thank you and have a good night.